The day begins with Shirova standing quietly near a calm river. She watches the sky and sees white doves flying peacefully. The scene feels peaceful and beautiful. After watching the birds for a while, Shiroha walks to the local shrine. She stands in front of the altar, closes her eyes, and starts to pray silently. While she focuses on her prayer, she hears the voices of a few small girls playing nearby. One of the girls tells the others that her grandmother once said a champion came to the island to fix his broken fist. Later that night, Shiroha is swimming in a large pool alone. The place is quiet and only the sound of water can be heard. After a while, she feels tired and decides to rest. She climbs out of the pool, water dripping from her hair and body. While she changes her clothes, she thinks about her grandfather. He always says that she needs to work harder. She remembers how strict he is and how much he expects from her. Suddenly, she hears some strange sounds. There are footsteps coming from outside, but no one is in sight. She becomes alert. The door creaks open and someone slowly walks into the pool area. Shiroha quickly jumps back into the water and holds her breath, hiding under the surface. The unknown person looks around. Shiroha stays still as long as she can, but after a while, she cannot hold her breath anymore. That's when she sees a boy standing there. It's Hairi. He looks surprised to see her. Shiroha also looks shocked and asks him who he is. Hairi calmly introduces himself and asks for her name. But Shiroha refuses to answer. Instead, she scolds him, saying she's the one asking the questions. Hairi looks confused and a little scared. Shiroha then asks him if he is lost. Hairi tells her that he is trying to find his way back to the Kato house. As she slowly swims deeper into the water, Hairi thinks she feels uncomfortable and decides to leave. He apologizes politely and starts to walk away. But just before he exits, Shiroha tells him the directions. She says to go up the hill, walk until the end, and then take a left at the third crossroads. Hairi thanks her for the help. Before leaving, he also tells her it's dangerous to swim alone at night. What if she gets a leg cramp and no one is around to help? Shiroha frowns and looks annoyed. Hairi gets nervous and quickly says sorry again before running off. Shiroha watches him go, looking thoughtful. The next day, Shiroha goes to a nearby store. She walks over to the ice cream fridge and looks inside. Suddenly, she hears someone say welcome from behind her. She turns around quickly, startled. It's Ao. Ao smiles and says Shiroha should not be so surprised. She also tells her they are out of watermelon bars today. Shiroha looks disappointed and begins to walk away. Ao notices something is wrong and follows her. She calls out to her and asks if she wants to join the welcome dinner party the next night. Shiroha asks, welcome party for who? Ao tells her it's for Grandma Kato's grandson. Shiroha suddenly remembers Hairi and becomes curious. She asks Ao what he looks like. Ao explains that according to Mickey, Hairi seems like a decent guy. She also says that Hairi is already getting along well with Tenzin and Ryuichi. Shiroha quietly listens. Then she says she will come if she can. After that, she leaves. That night, Shiroha goes back to practice swimming again. She swims hard, focusing on her technique. After some time, she comes out of the pool. Suddenly, she sees someone standing nearby. It's Hairi again. She looks surprised and asks him if he is lost again. Hairi shakes his head and says no. Shiroha then becomes suspicious. She asks if he is trying to take advantage of her. Hairi quickly denies it and says no way. He then gives her some advice about how she can swim better. After saying that, he runs away before she can get mad. Shiroha stays behind, thinking about what he said. She decides to try the swimming tip Hairi gave her. Back at home, Shiroha talks to her grandfather. She tells him she wants to go out because she made a promise to her friends. Her grandfather looks strict at first, but then gives her permission to go. Shiroha walks to the Kato house, but once she reaches the door, she feels too shy to go inside. She turns around and decides to leave. But just then, Hairi shows up behind her. She jumps in surprise, he smiles and says, so you made it. Shiroha thanks him and tells him that she tried the swimming trick he shared and it really helped her improve. Then Shiroha suddenly becomes serious. She thanks him again and says she hopes he has a safe trip back home from the island. Hairi looks confused. He reminds her they just arrived and this is his welcome party. But before he can say anything more, Shiroha turns around and runs away, shouting that she never welcomed him here in the first place. Now Shiroha on the beach, breathing hard. She looks embarrassed. Hairi finds her again and comes up to her. He asks what she meant by her earlier words. Shiroha avoids the question and says it's none of his business. Then she asks him why he came to the island. Hairi says he came to take care of his grandmother's things and that he does not even remember how to enjoy summer anymore. Shiroha looks at him carefully. She sees a lost boy in front of her. It reminds her of her own past. She remembers when she used to spend summer days with her parents and friends. Every day used to be fun, filled with activities. She tells Hairi that she believes he's enjoying the island because it suits him well. Hairi agrees quietly. Then Shiroha brings up something strange. She asks about the broken fist she heard from the little girls. She wants to know what it means. Hairi laughs a little and says it's just a figure of speech. He explains that he went through a lot and came here for peace. Shiroha realizes it must have been painful for him. That night, they become friends. The next morning, Hairi wakes up and eats breakfast with Umi. Kippa tells him he should go out and explore the island. Hairi goes out and starts thinking about all the people he has met. Ao, Tenzin, Ryuichi, and of course Shiroha. While walking, he spots Shiroha sitting near the water, fishing quietly. He walks over and says hello. She looks up and asks why he is there. Hairi says he just saw a friend and came to say hi. Then he asks what she's trying to catch. Shiroha says anything. After trying for a long time, Shiroha still has not caught any fish. Hairi stands up and asks to borrow her fishing rod. He throws it into the water and waits. Shiroha tells him there are not many fish in this area. But to her surprise, Hairi catches a fish right away. He tells her he used to be good at catching crayfish as a kid. Later, Shiroha cooks the fish for them. Hairi is amazed by how good she is at cooking. After they eat, Shiroha suddenly becomes serious. She tells Hairi to leave her alone from now on. She says nothing good will come out of being with her. But Hairi wants something sweet to eat, so he asks Shiroha to come with him to get ice cream. She agrees and chooses a watermelon bar. Soon after, Shiroha is holding her ice cream and about to take a bite. But suddenly, Tenzin and Ryuichi show up and surprise her. She gets startled and the watermelon bar slips from her hand and lands on Hairi's shirt. He quickly takes off his shirt and starts talking to the guys. Meanwhile, Shiroha kneels down looking sad because her precious ice cream is now ruined. The guys ask her what's wrong. At that moment, Ao and Miki arrive. They see Shiroha looking sad and hugging Ao. Shiroha says she lost something very important. Ao and Miki misunderstand and think the guys did something bad to her. Miki pulls out a water gun, and the three girls start a playful water fight against the three boys. The girls win and everyone laughs, saying it was fun, but Shiroha does not smile. She quietly leaves, saying it was not fun at all. The next day, Hairi finds Shiroha again in her usual fishing spot. He tells her it's really hot today and asks if she's okay. But soon he realizes Shiroha is unconscious. Later, Hairi is carrying Shiroha on his back. He takes her home and makes sure she is safe. As he leaves Shiroha's house, he meets Tenzin and Ryuichi. They ask to speak with him. They tell them a story about the past. A few years ago, Shiroha used to play with them. But then a classmate said that Shiroha was cursed and would bring bad luck. One day, that boy fell off a cliff. He survived, but people said Shiroha was with him when it happened. Hairi says that it sounds like a coincidence, but the boys explain more. Shiroha's family lives in the Naruse Shrine. In the past, her family led all the island's rituals and festivals. Some superstitious people still treat her differently, like she's cursed. She's just a regular girl now, but people remember the old days and judge her unfairly. Then Tenzin and Ryuichi tell Hairi that Shiroha seems happier and more like her old self when she's with him. So they ask him to keep an eye on her and help her. Hairi listens carefully and then smiles. He agrees to help Shiroha. The next morning, Umi and Hairi sit together and eat noodles. They are enjoying their meal. Shiroha also sits with them. The noodles taste very good and Umi and Hairi finish them quickly. After a while, Umi gets tired and falls asleep on the spot. Hairi and Shiroha watch her sleep peacefully. As they look at Umi, they both slowly realize how close they are sitting to each other. Soon, they begin talking. Shiroha asked Hairi if he and Umi are siblings. Hairi tells her that they are not brother and sister, but they are still family. Then Hairi says he was really surprised to see Shiroha visit him. He never expected that she would come over. Shiroha tells him that she just wanted to thank him for walking her home the previous day. She says she did not plan on cooking noodles or staying so long, it just happened by accident. Hairi smiles and says that he wanted Umi to try Shiroha's cooking too. He then apologizes if it caused her any trouble. But Shiroha says it's all right. She says it was actually fun because she has not visited such a lively place in a very long time. Then she suddenly remembers something and stands up. She says she should leave now. Hairi becomes concerned. He quickly asks her if she thinks something bad will happen to him if she stays longer. Shiroha goes quiet. She does not say anything in reply. She just starts walking away. Hairi calls out to her and asks her to wait. Then Hairi asks her if she would like to hang out with him sometime. The next day, the group gathers together. Everyone seems to be in a good mood except Tenzin. He looks very sad. He says his special move during the game was so powerful that it broke the table in 2 pieces. Just then, Tenzin says he already talked to Takuda, the son of the island's sports store owner. Takuda says he can arrange a new table for them, but there is a small problem. They need to pay for it, and Tenzin does not have enough money. Everyone starts thinking about how to earn money fast. Awa says they can try selling her grandmother's old pickles. Someone else suggests they sell Mickey's water guns. But Mickey says her water guns are way too dangerous, so they cannot be sold to people. Suddenly, Shiroha gets an idea. She says they can open a small food cart at the port. Everyone likes her idea immediately. They think it will be like a school event or festival. Hairi and Ryuichi say they will depend on Shiroha to be their main chef. She agrees happily and promises that she will do her best to make it a success. After making the plan, the group gets to work right away. First, they borrow a food cart from the island. Then they gather fresh ingredients like vegetables, spices, and sauces. After everything is ready, they set up the food cart at the port and start selling food. On the first day, business is really good. Many people come to their cart to eat. The group feels excited and proud. They count the money they earn and go straight to Tokuda to buy the new ping pong table. They offer him the money they earned, but Tokuda refuses to take it. He says that since Shiroha was part of the group who earned the money, he will not accept payment. The group becomes curious and asks if he is in love with Shiroha. Tokuda says no. He explains that it's because of Shiroha's family that they can do business on the island at all. Her family helps the community, so Tokuda feels it is only fair that he does not charge them for the table. After that, the group brings the brand new ping pong table back to their base. Hairi says that since they still have some money left, they should give it to Shiroha. The whole group agrees. They say she helped the most, and they were able to earn money only because of her idea and her cooking. But Shiroha politely refuses to take the money. She says she knows she will not use it, so there's no point in keeping it. But Ao suggests that Shiroha should go to the main island sometime and maybe buy something nice there. But Shiroha says she does not go to the main island alone. Ryuichi hears this and quickly says that she can go with Hairi instead. He even calls it a date, but Shiroha gently turns down the suggestion. She smiles and says she is not interested in going on a date. The next day, Hairi waits at the port. He looks at his watch again and again, clearly waiting for someone. In the flashback, Hairi receives a phone call. On the other end of the line is Shiroha. She tells Hairi that she wants to meet him the next day. She says she wants to treat him to dinner and wants him to come to the port. Back to the present, Hairi is still standing there waiting patiently. After a few minutes, Shiroha finally arrives. She walks up to him and smiles. She tells him that she wanted to meet him just to say thank you for inviting her over yesterday. Hairi smiles and appreciates her kind gesture. After that, they start their little journey. Hairi and Shiroha are now on a ship. Hairi asks Shiroha if she has a special place in mind where she wants to go. Shiroha nods and takes out a magazine. She shows him a picture of a Western-style restaurant. She says she wants to eat there. While they talk, Shiroha notices the watch on Hairi's wrist. Hairi notices her looking and explains that it is a special edition watch. He won it at a meetup event. Shiroha tells him that she has never seen him wear it on the island. Hairi replies that there is no need to track time while living on the island. He only wears the watch in serious situations. Soon, they arrive at their destination. But when they get to the restaurant, they are disappointed to see that it is closed. Since the restaurant is not open, they decide to sit on a bench nearby and enjoy some other snacks. While eating, Hairi says that the snack tastes good. Hairi then looks at a nearby train station. He tells Shiroha that they can take this train to the 5th station. From there, they can catch another train to go to his city. Shiroha becomes curious and says she would like to visit his city someday. But Hairi quickly tells her that his city is boring and very slow-paced. He adds that he doesn't think a time will ever come when he will take her to visit his hometown. Later, the two go shopping together. They also play games and enjoy their time like two close friends. Evening arrives and Hairi says it's time to head back. Once they reach the island, Shiroha wants to thank Hairi again. But then her eyes catch something on a nearby wall. It's a poster about the Natsureti ritual. She stares at it and suddenly she looks sad and disturbed. A strange vision or memory seems to hit her. Hairi reads the poster aloud. Hairi then asks Shiroha if she is also involved in this ritual. Suddenly, Shiroha's tone changes completely. She becomes serious and tells Hairi that he must leave the island. She reminds him that she has already told him this many times before, but Hairi calmly says that he still doesn't know how to spend his summer. Shiroha replies with a cold tone, saying that he never will know. Then she walks away without saying anything else. Hairi returns home looking sad. Kyoko, who is at home, tells him that a letter came for him. Hairi takes the letter and reads it. As he reads, something clicks in his mind. He suddenly remembers something and thinks of Shiroha. He immediately rushes to see her. Hairi finds Shiroha and starts to tell her about his past. He says he used to be on the swim team at a public high school. There were many good people on the team. Even the senior students supported him. They made him the star swimmer and told him to aim for victory. But when the time came, he couldn't even finish the race. No one blamed him for failing, and he felt so grateful that he almost cried. Because of their kindness, he promised himself that he would work hard and win next time. But sadly, he failed again. After that, he started to feel like he didn't belong, neither at home nor in town. So he ran away to this island, but even the people he left behind were kind. Despite all his mistakes, they still made space for him to return. Shirova asks him, "So you're leaving the island?" Hairi quickly says no. He tells her that he is staying here. He wants to stay with her because he believes that if he is with her, he will finally learn how to spend his summer. But Shirova stops him. She says she cannot let him stay with her. Then she begins to tell her own story. A long time ago, someone confessed his feelings to her. She didn't know him well and didn't enjoy the situation, so she rejected him. But the boy kept coming back trying to talk to her. Then one day she had a strange dream. In the dream, the boy fell off a cliff and looked really sad. She got very scared and followed him in real life, and shockingly, the dream came true. That's when she started to believe she had the power to see the future in her dreams. But every dream showed only bad things. So she began to think that either she can see the future or she is the one making it happen. Now she tells Hairi that she is having a new dream. In the dream, she sees herself dying during this summer's Natsuroti festival. Hairi is shocked to hear this. She also tells him that she is going to be a priestess this year. Hairi asks if the role of priestess is dangerous. Shiroha says no. Then she adds something even more scary. She tells him that in the dream she's being pulled into a river, but she is not alone. Someone is with her in the dream. Hairi realizes that the other person is probably him. That's why she wants him to stay away from her. She wants him to leave the island. She says that earlier she wasn't sure, but that afternoon she got a clearer dream. This time she saw the other person wearing a special watch, the same one that Hairi wears. That's why she is sure now. She tells him again to go away. She says that she doesn't mind dying alone, but she cannot let someone else die because of her. Hairi stays calm and tries to comfort her. He says he believes her because he trusts her. But he also says he doesn't want to leave her alone. Then he asks her, is she really okay with dying? Shiroha says that maybe they can avoid what is going to happen. She thinks it is possible to change the future, but she is also scared. She says she couldn't save that boy in the past. Hairi gently tells her that maybe she already helped that boy. Maybe her warning saved him from something even worse. He believes they can still change the future together. He promises that they will work together and fight this fate. Shiroha starts to cry, but this time her tears are not of sadness. They are of hope and joy. The next day, Hairi sits in front of Shiro's grandfather. Her grandfather is calm but serious. He says that nothing bad is going to happen and confirms that Shiro will be the priestess this year. Hairi gathers courage and speaks. He asks Shiro's grandfather to let him stay by her side to protect her. The grandfather looks at him and asks, who is he to stay with her? Hairi replies with confidence he is her friend. The grandfather then looks at him again and says if he wants to stay by her side, then prove that he is prepared. The next morning, everyone gathers at the shore. Suddenly, Hairi comes flying out of the water like someone pushed him out. Everyone becomes worried. Then, Shirova's grandfather standing in front of Hairi. He tells Hairi that underwater combat is a tradition that honors the sea god. If Hairi is truly ready, he must prove it too. Shirova watches all this and becomes very worried. Her grandfather is beating Hairi in the water. It's hard for her to see him suffering. She remembers what Hairi once told her, that they will do everything together. Meanwhile, under the water, Hairi keeps getting attacked by Shirova's grandfather. Hairi cannot fight back. He is slowly losing hope. Just then, Shiroha yells from above and encourages him. Hearing her voice gives Hairi new energy and motivation. He gathers all his strength and pushes himself up. With one big move, he throws Shiro's grandfather into the water. Everyone cheers for Hairi. He turns to the group and gives a thumbs up. Shirova smiles happily. Later that evening, the group gathers again. Shirova's grandfather stands in front of them and speaks to Hairi. He says Shirova lost her parents 10 years ago. Since then, she's been alone. She never made any friends and people started spreading silly rumors about her. Every summer, she spent her time by herself. The grandfather asks Hairi to take good care of her. Hairi nods and promises he will. He says he will stay by her side during the Natsudori festival and protect her. That way, the false rumors about her might finally end. But there is a condition. Her grandfather says only family members are allowed to stay with the priestess during the festival. Shirova looks confused at first, but then she realizes what he means by family member. Her face turns bright red and she screams. She says she cannot marry Hairi. Her grandfather explains that it will only be symbolic. There will be no real marriage. Hairi says he owes Shiroha a lot and wants to stay close to her in case anything happens. Shirova softly replies that if it's not a burden, she will be thankful. They look at each other and smile. Then Shiroha says shyly, please be my spouse." Later that night, Umi and Kyoko get excited when they hear that Shiroha and Hairi are getting married. The next morning, everyone is busy preparing for the Naxidori festival. People are making lanterns that will be lit up during the night of the festival. Hairi notices a little girl sitting away from the crowd. She looks sad and holds a lantern in her lap. Hairi learns that the girl's mother passed away last year. He walks over and sits with her. He starts talking about the Obon festival. He explains that it's the time of year when the spirits of the dead return to visit. On the night of the Naxidori festival, the spirits go back again. But walking in the dark is hard even for spirits. That's why people light lanterns to help guide the spirits and make them feel safe during their journey. Later, Hairi joins Tenzin and Ryuichi. It's time for his costume rehearsal. They mention how Shiroha once saw them drowning. They wonder if it will be because of kimonos they are going to wear. Hairi starts thinking deeply. He then goes to talk to Shiroha. Shiroha is wearing a beautiful kimono. Hairi stares at her and then asks a strange question. How will she remove the kimono? Shiroha gets embarrassed and misunderstands his question, but Hairi quickly explains. He wants to know how she will swim while wearing such heavy clothes. Shiroha agrees. She says she'll think about changing the outfit. She thanks Hairi for thinking about her and for always helping her. That night at home, Hairi looks at the calendar. He says to himself, tomorrow is the big day. After some time, he gets a call from Miki. She tells him Shiroha is missing. Tenzin and Ryuichi are looking for her. Ao is pretending to be Shiroha to cover for her. Hairi immediately runs out to search for her. He knows where she might be and goes straight to that place. And he is right. He finds Shiroha sitting alone. He tells her that everyone is worried and she should have told someone where she was going. Shiroha looks sad. She says that as the festival comes closer, her dreams are becoming stronger. She doesn't want to lose someone she loves again. Hairi gently tells her he feels happy to be with her. Being by her side saved him. He asked her not to talk like that. He says everyone feels the same. None of them want to lose her either. Shiroha feels relieved hearing his words. Hairi tells her it's time to go back, but she stops him. She says it's time to watch something special. Hairi turns around and suddenly, the sea starts glowing. Hundreds of sea fireflies rise up. It looks magical. Shiroha tells him her father showed her this place. For the past 10 years during this exact summertime, the sea fireflies appear. Together, they watch the glowing sea and enjoy the beautiful, peaceful moment. After returning home, everyone gathers together. At first, they all look upset with Shiroha, but as soon as they look closely at her face, their anger fades away. The next day, the big summer festival begins. The whole island is decorated beautifully. Bright lights, colorful banners, and cheerful music fill the streets. Hairi is on his way to Shiroha's house. While walking, he suddenly sees a glowing butterfly flying ahead of him. Curious, he follows it through the trees and paths. It leads him to a giant tree deep in the forest. There he meets Umi. She stands near the tree quietly. Hairi asks her what she's doing here, and Umi calmly tells him that she just came for a walk. She doesn't stay long and soon walks away without saying anything else. Hairi quickly rushes to the shrine, slightly panicked and out of breath. The butterfly covenant ceremony finally starts. Shiroha and Hairi are dressed in elegant traditional clothes. Everyone watches them with admiration. They look graceful and peaceful together. After the ceremony, Shiroha performs in front of the whole crowd. Her performance is gentle and beautiful. Hairi stands quietly and watches her. Later that night, Tenzin and Ryuichi begin pushing the ceremonial boat into the water. The lanterns on the boat glow softly. The atmosphere is warm and peaceful. Everything seems to be going perfectly. But suddenly, the sky darkens and it starts to rain. Tenzin realizes they won't be able to see the lanterns floating away like they usually do. Just when they are about to leave, Ao runs toward Hairi. She asks Hairi if he has seen Huda anywhere. She begs him to find Huda quickly and stop her if he sees her. At that moment, Shiroha suddenly looks scared. She tells Hairi that she remembers her strange dreams again. In her dreams, she and Hairi are involved in something terrible. But Shiroha says this time, her dream was even clearer, and she now realizes that the other person in her dream was a little girl. Hairi's expression changes. He puts the pieces together and realizes that Huda might be in danger. Maybe she's on the ceremonial boat. The rain is pouring harder, and the waves are getting rough. Without wasting a second, Hairi and Shiroha get on a small boat with Ryuichi and head out into the sea. Hairi shouts Huda's name, worried and desperate. After some time searching in the dark water, they spot the boat. Huda is sitting on it, crying. She tells them she thought the boat would take her to her mom. She believes she could meet her mother again if she rode it. She says she is sorry for everything. Shiroha becomes very concerned. She reaches out her hand to help Huda and calls for Hairi. Suddenly, the boat rocks violently because of the strong waves. Shiroha loses her balance and falls into the sea. Hairi panics. He quickly tells Ryuichi to hold Huda safely. Then, without hesitation, he jumps into the water to save Shiroha. Under the sea, he swims toward her. He reaches out and grabs her hand. But then something strange happens. As he looks at her more closely, he feels something is not right. The girl he is holding is not Shiroha. He hears a mysterious voice inside his head. The voice says that they are the Weavers of Time. It tells Hairi that no matter how hard he tries to seek the truth, it will not change anything. Even if he meets her again this summer, it will only be temporary. The voice says that their fate is to keep weaving time again and again. A huge wave crashes over him. Hairi loses his sense of direction. He doesn't know where to go. He starts to panic. But then suddenly he sees glowing butterflies swimming in the sea. They begin to guide him. He follows the butterflies and soon he reaches the surface of the water. Ryuichi pulls Hairi out of the sea. Hairi looks at him and smiles weakly, relieved to be safe. The next morning, Hairi is preparing to leave the island. Everyone gathers to say goodbye. But Shiroha is not there. Before leaving, Hairi goes to meet her personally. Shiroha thanks him for everything he has done. But Hairi replies that it wasn't just him, it was all teamwork. They both go silent for a few seconds. It feels a little awkward. To break the silence, Hairi says something embarrassing. He confesses that the first time he saw Shiroha swimming, he accidentally saw her undergarments. Shiroha is shocked and embarrassed. She asks why he's telling her now. Hairi nervously says he just couldn't think of anything else to say. He feels overwhelmed. Then Hairi says something touching. He tells Shiroha that he used to think the future was as dark as the sea, impossible to see clearly. But she showed him light and hope. He says that this is her real power, to light up the dark path ahead. At that moment, Hairi turns to the right and sees everyone standing together, waiting for him. He tells Shiroha that now he understands how to spend summer properly. It was actually simple. He doesn't know how he ever forgot it. He says he loves summer now. Shiroha wants to say something important, but just then the announcement is made for all passengers to board the ship. It's time to leave, so she stops talking. Before going, Hairi looks at her and says that even though their time was short, he have a lot of fun. Then he finally confesses his love for her. Shiroha looks shocked and blushes deeply. Hairi boards the ship. As he waves goodbye to everyone, he keeps looking at Shiroha. Suddenly, she shouts out that she loves him too. Everyone hears it. Hairi becomes shy and happy at the same time. He tells her he will definitely come back to see her again. But just a few moments later, an announcement is made. Due to some technical issue, the ship is returning to the island. Both Hairi and Shiroha are completely shocked. Later, both of them sitting together again, their faces red with embarrassment. They sit quietly, blushing. Then Miki takes a photo of them all to celebrate Hairi's immediate return. While on the other hand, Umi is standing near the giant tree saying next time for sure, but she doesn't understand what she meant by it. Kyuko had a sudden flashback when she fell asleep while working. A voice abruptly woke her, which she recognized as Hitomi. She didn't even remember dozing off until Hitomi scolded her, though lately she found it difficult to distinguish dreams from reality, or even if she was a butterfly or a person. Hitomi teased her about being a bookworm, but Kyuko only questioned her intentions. Hitomi asked for a favor, saying the little girl and a boy would soon come to her. Though the descriptions were vague, Hitomi sounded certain Kyuko would recognize them when they arrived. After speaking, a butterfly fluttered away through her open window. True enough, before long, a girl named Omi knocked on her door and Kyuko welcomed her inside. Soon after, a boy named Hairi arrived. Just as Hitomi had wished, Kyuko devoted herself to caring for them both with all her strength. Kyuko taught both Umi and Hairi how to write their names in Japanese letters. At first, Umi seemed indifferent toward Hairi, barely responding to his cheerful attempts to be friends. But since they were spending the entire summer together, Umi eventually gave in. After some time, they got along surprisingly well. That summer, Kyuko allowed Hairi to explore the storage room filled with items left behind by his grandmother. She was a pack rat, keeping anything that looked remotely rare, which was exactly why Hairi was called to help sort things in there. As they spoke, Hairi's stomach suddenly growled, prompting Kyuko to suggest having dinner first. However, she quickly apologized, admitting her cooking was too unique for most people. Instead, she instructed him to go down the hill where a dining hall was located and suggested she bring Omi with him too. They finished dinner and were ready to head back home, but on their way back, a motorcycle suddenly broke down in the middle of the road. With no other choice, Hairi was forced to push the bike all the way home. As they made their way back, Hairi suddenly looked up and noticed the night sky blanketed with stars. They might have been in the middle of nowhere, but above them stretched a breathtaking view of countless twinkling lights. However, their moment was quickly interrupted by the sound of splashing water nearby. Curious, they followed the noise and discovered a girl swimming alone in a small pool of water. They introduced their names to her, and she responded by saying her name as well, Shiroha. Concerned, Hairi questioned why she was there at such a late hour, warning her of the danger of being alone in the dark. He continued to lecture her endlessly, but Shirova silenced him with a single word, dosukoi, a term Hairi didn't understand at all. As they resumed their travel, Hairi muttered to Umi about how strange Shiroha seemed, though Umi admitted she found her rather pretty. Days passed, and Hairi and Umi tried to cook their meals. Umi requested fried rice, so Hairi enthusiastically gave it a shot. Unfortunately, the result was disastrous. Umi rated it a 7 out of 100. Even Hairi couldn't bring himself to eat his own cooking. Despite the time he had already spent on the island, the room crammed with his grandmother's belongings was still nowhere near sorted. Instead, Kyuko asked him to look after Umi. With nothing else to do, Hairi began exploring the island with Umi. In just a few days, he had already met many people, like Ao, whom he first found napping under the shade of a tree. The locals were a little eccentric, but undeniably friendly. Each new place introduced him to someone new, and slowly Hairi began to feel like he could start over here. Together with Umi, he rode his motorcycle through scenic roads, joined parties with new friends, and discovered corners of the island he never knew existed. Now Hairi hands Umi another plate of his fried rice, hoping to finally redeem himself. But after one bite, Umi sighs and rates it 8 points, barely an improvement from last time. Determined to do better, Hairi decides to seek help. They head to the shaved ice shop to ask O for advice on cooking proper fried rice. With this, Miki suggests that Hairi asks Shiroha instead, claiming her fried rice is unbeatable. As it turns out, Shiroha's parents once ran a diner, so she inherited their flavors. Following this tip, Hairi and Umi head to Shiroha's favorite fishing spot. When they arrive, Hairi notices her bucket is empty, guessing the tides are in her favor. Curious, Hairi asks why she's fishing in the first place. Calmly, Shiroha replies that she plans to eat them. Soon, Shiroha's fishing line starts to bubble and twitch, and she panics as she reels it in, expecting a fish. To her surprise, it's a shell-like creature, which makes Hairi and Umi question if she really plans to eat it. Hairi, curious, volunteers to fish as well. Despite Shiroha's warning that the island's waters aren't easy, he eventually catches a modest-sized fish. Excited, he offers the rod to Umi, asking if she wants to try. Umi takes on the challenge, and after some time, Umi catches an even bigger fish than Hairi. Time passes, and soon Shiroha serves them 2 freshly cooked dishes. The looks alone make their mouths water, and when they take a bite, both are stunned by how delicious it tastes. Even Umi gives it a proud 95 points. Pleased by their reaction, Shiroha smiles, but Hairi gets straight to the point. He asks her to teach them how to cook fried rice. Amused, Shiroha begins explaining the basics, starting with the need for a proper wok. But when Hairi admits they only have a normal frying pan, she ends the discussion. Shiroha insists that just won't do. Umi suddenly speaks, saying she wants to try eating it with her family, but Shiroha quietly admits she wouldn't know how that feels. She has no parents anymore. The words hang heavy in the air. Without another word, Umi abruptly stands and starts walking away. Shiroha stays silent as Hairi bids goodbye and follows. As Hairi and Umi walk back, he gently urges her to stop holding back, reminding her she's just a kid after all. Shiroha silently watches them until they vanish from sight. That night, Hairi heads to a vending machine for a soda, but on his way home, he finds Kyuko standing in the middle of the road looking troubled. When he asks, she tells him Umi is missing. Looking back, Umi's father was always away, leaving their house quiet and empty. That same night, Hairi finds Umi standing by the ocean, casually reading a letter. They've been searching for her for quite some time. When Hairi calls out, she instinctively blurts out "Dad," revealing how much she misses him. But her real father is always busy with work. Hairi tries to explain that her father works hard because it's necessary, but the words don't comfort Umi. She recalls her father once saying he was working hard on something important, yet he failed. That's why he regretted running away. Hairi is stunned to hear this, but Umi admits she ran away too, away from people who truly cared for her. That's why she ended up here. She wants to apologize but can't bring herself to yet. Hairi takes a deep breath, but before he knows it, Umi is clutching his hand tightly, unwilling to run away anymore. To comfort her, Hairi kneels down to look her in the eye, urging her to come home with him already as Kyuko is worried sick. While walking home, Hairi asks why she went to the ocean. Umi casually says her dad wasn't home, referring to Hairi. He freezes for a moment, surprised not only by the word but by the fact that she was looking for him all along. She admits she did this because she wants to stay with him and stop running away from everything. They continue walking until they finally arrive home, greeted by Kyuko and several townspeople who join the search. The moment Umi climbs down from the motorcycle, Kyuko pulls her into a warm embrace. Umi whispers an apology for her reckless behavior, and Hairi thanks everyone for their help before they disperse. Later that night, Hairi gently asks Umi if there's anything she wants to do. Since they're on the island, they decide to make the most of it with something memorable. Umi falls silent for a moment before bringing up her mom. Hairi initially assumes she means playing house, but it's more than that. She wants to do something meaningful together with her mother. With this, Hairi first thinks Kyuko can call her mom, but Umi's response reveals the truth: she doesn't have one anymore. Wanting to grant her wish, Hairi suggests they find someone who can act like one, and he knows exactly who to ask for help. Hairi arrives at the same fishing spot to find Shiroha. At first, she appears grumpy, but when Hairi explains the situation, she finally understands. Still, Shiroha can't help but wonder why he's going through so much trouble. Hairi recalls last night's conversation with Umi. It genuinely moved him. Just like her, he came to the island hoping to escape certain things, yet this young girl wanted to run away. With that, Shiroha agrees to be Umi's mother, but on one condition. Hairi has to bring her a watermelon bar whenever she asks. Hairi, instantly overjoyed, grabs Shiroha's hand in excitement. That day, Hairi rushes to deliver the good news to Umi. Shiroha will be her new mom. Shiroha tries her best to greet Umi, but the little girl seems shy, barely making eye contact. Similarly, Shiroha struggles to interact with kids and isn't sure what to say, creating an awkward scene. Wanting to make things more lively, Hairi buys art materials from Ao and happily brings them home for Umi to use. Ao, watching Hairi's effort, can't help but feel proud seeing him stepping up like a true dad. Back home, Hairi hands Umi the items he bought and explains they are for a magic picture diary. Excited, Umi tries the diary immediately, drawing a picture of her dad, Hairi, singing a song while pretending to be a Quetzalcoatl. Without hesitation, Hairi performs this silly act, earning laughter from both Umi and Shiroha. With this, Hairi encourages Umi to do the same with her mom, so she draws another picture. Shiroha doing the same thing. Left with no choice, Shiroha complies, mimicking Hairi's actions with flushed cheeks, much to Umi's delight. Hairi suggests saving the rest for the next morning. True to plan, Umi draws herself and Shiroha doing origami the next day. To Umi's surprise, Shiroha is skilled, impressing her with intricate folds and clever tricks. Umi beams with joy, thrilled to learn something new, and in her excitement, she accidentally calls Shiroha mom. What surprises her even more is that Shiroha doesn't correct her and simply agrees with her. Later that afternoon, Hairi and Umi also fold paper airplanes and head outside to see how far they can fly. While Hairi teaches Umi some tricks for a smooth flight, they are suddenly surprised by another airplane soaring gracefully past theirs. Turning around, they see Shiroha standing proudly, announcing that her creation is the Hyper Mustang Special Dimension, claiming it flies faster than Hairi's. Competitive by nature, Hairi immediately takes on the challenge. Soon, his airplane outperforms Shiroha's, which frustrates her enough to spark a playful rivalry. As the two compete intensely, Umi watches with a sigh. This isn't what she wanted, and she only wished for a simple, fun game together. Hearing her, both Hairi and Shiroha realize their mistake. They decide to stop competing and work together instead. Soon, the three of them happily launch their paper airplanes into the bright summer sky, laughter and smiles lighting their faces as the golden rays of the sun bathe the scene in warmth. Umi used to argue often with her dad. Sometimes, in the heat of those moments, she found herself wishing her mom was still there. The words had once taken her father aback, and the realization of what she'd said would always leave her feeling sad afterward. In the present, Umi sits at the table, eating a plate of fried rice Hairi made. After a few bites, she gives it a rating of 41 points. It's still a low score, but Hairi is already overjoyed to have improved. Shiroha, eating alongside them, remains puzzled. Even after Hairi followed her recipe, the fried rice still tasted off. Later that day, they return to their magical diary writing. Umi writes about a sunny day when she and her mom go swimming. So they swim in a pool, Umi sliding down with pure excitement. She beams as her mom watches her. A few of their island friends also join them in the pool. It turns out they had all stayed up the entire night to build the pool and slide exactly as Umi had drawn. Seeing her smile now, Hairi feels it was worth it. Everyone is more than happy to keep making Umi's magical wishes come true. Her next drawing shows Umi and her mom playing hide and seeks. The whole group joins in as well. For the first round, Shiroha volunteers to count while everyone hides. Once she finishes, she rushes off to find them. Hairi, peeking out from his spot to check on Umi, is spotted immediately. When Shiroha declares a match, Tenzin boldly reveals himself, his tournament habits kicking in. Then she calls out for a party, which flushes out both Ryuichi and Miki. Spotting a chance, Shiroha teases about a dirty magazine, making Ao dash over, only to accidentally expose herself. Now only Umi hasn't been found yet. Scanning the area, Shiroha spots her hat sticking out from a pile of boxes. Thinking she's finally cornered her, Shiroha approaches, only to realize it's a trap. The hat is perched on a twig, placed there to mislead her. With that, Shirova shifts her gaze to another pile of boxes and spots Umi crouching. She had guessed Umi might try to imitate Hairi's earlier hiding spot, and she proves to be correct. In the next round, Hairi takes his turn as It. He quickly finds Tenzin, then Ryuichi, then Miki, and finally Ao. Before long, only Shiroha and Umi remain. When Hairi searches near a bush, he's about to catch the two, but Shiroha gestures for silence. He then notices Umi has fallen fast asleep on Shiroha's lap already, exhausted from the game. Umi's next diary entry shows her and her mom singing together, so everyone decides to join in and sing their hearts out despite not being particularly good at it. By the end, Sumui feels a little defeated, realizing her skills aren't working as well. Even with Shizuku's relentless encouragement, Shiroha insists on sticking to her own style. Umi struggles to keep up, but Shizuku continues urging them, determined to teach the right way. Wanting to make things better, Sumui suggests they all sing together. Udi agrees enthusiastically and calls for Hairi to join them. With that, they start again, blending their mismatched voices. Even Kyuko, listening from the storage room, can't help but find their singing quite unusual. In her next diary entry, Umi writes that the day starts sunny, then it rains, and her mom reads her a book. Curious, Shiroha asks what kind of book she would like. Instead of a regular one, Kamome suggests they create a picture book just for her. As it turns out, Shiroha can make the picture book herself, while Kamome can help. When asked what the story should be about, Umi immediately says butterflies. She describes in detail the kind of butterfly she wants to see, and Kamome listens closely before sketching the scene on paper. Hairi joins in, trying to help with the drawings, though his slower pace ends up delaying Kamome a little. Yet she doesn't mind, knowing it will mean more to Umi if Hairi contributes too. After some time, the picture book is finally complete. The cover is beautiful, impressing everyone. With this, Shiroha takes the book and begins to read, telling the tale of a butterfly with colorful wings. They keep reading together until the sun outside grows golden. When it's time to leave, both Shiroha and Kamome say their goodbyes, but Umi has already fallen asleep. She didn't even get to finish the story, though they can always continue next time. Just as the two are about to head out, Umi stirs awake and calls out to Hairi, urging him to walk them home. The girls insist they can manage on their own, but Umi is persistent, even telling them to carry an umbrella as it will rain soon. This leaves him with little choice but to see them off. Along the way, they stop by to buy watermelon popsicles before continuing on their way. As they walk, Shiroha notices something. Hairi no longer corrects Umi when she calls him Dad. It seems he's simply gotten used to it. They talk about it briefly, but their conversation is cut short. When Kamome calls for their attention, she's already reached her home. She waves cheerfully before dashing towards her house. Now only Hairi and Shiroha remain. As they stroll, Shiroha quietly shares her worries about becoming a parent. She confesses that since she no longer has one herself, she's unsure if she could ever handle the role. Hearing this, Hairi reassures her. He recalls how Umi used to be stiff and shy around others until she met Shiroha. Now Umi beams with joy every day, and it's all thanks to Shiroha standing up as her mother. With this, Hairi tells her to simply care for Umi the way she wishes her own mother could have cared for her. Soon, the rain begins to pour, growing heavier with each passing minute. Sharing the umbrella, Hairi can't help but praise Umi for predicting the weather so accurately. Unbeknownst to him, Umi had already written all of this in her magical diary beforehand. The next day, Shiroha teaches Umi how to fold origami, which she enjoys immensely. While resting in a corner, Hairi happens to read Umi's diary entry from the previous day. To his surprise, she had written about the rain 2 days earlier. It makes him wonder whether Umi somehow saw it happening already. However, Hairi simply brushes it off as a coincidence and drifts into sleep. In his dream, he sees moments with Umi, how she cooks him fried rice, rides with him on the motorcycle, and wakes him up every morning. Yet what strikes him most is how she calls him Dad. When he wakes, it turns out Umi is indeed shaking him awake, calling him the same. Later, Umi proudly presents the origami she made with Shiroha. She urges Hairi to hold one end of the paper, then performs a clever trick that catches him off guard. He pretends to be surprised, and Umi beams at his reaction. Without hesitation, she explains the steps of her trick, while Hairi listens intently. It was Shiroha who taught Umi all the origami tricks she knows. In the end, the origami looks like a small boat. While Umi plays with it, she casually mentions that Shiroha will soon be riding a boat. The remark instantly surprises both Hairi and Shiroha. Shiroha instantly thinks of the Natsudori ritual, a long-standing tradition passed down for generations. It is essentially a festival, and Shiroha is directly involved in it. However, no one is supposed to know about this yet except her grandfather. She begins to wonder how Umi could possibly know she would be on a boat, especially though she also happened to predict yesterday's rain. When asked if she knows what will happen tomorrow, Umi answers without hesitation, leaving both Hairi and Shiroha stunned. Without another word, Shiroha rises, deciding to end it all. No more playing mother and daughter. Umi protests, trying to hold on, but Shiroha gently pushes her away. Seeing Umi's sadness, she can only offer a quick apology before rushing out. Hairi moves to follow, but Umi stops him, sobbing as she insists Shiroha will return, while Hairi stays, quietly comforting her, saying she will be back tomorrow. However, when Hairi tries to chase after Shiroha, she only manages to say that she is cursed before continuing on her way. Hairi can do nothing but watch her disappear into the distance. Back at their house, Hairi apologizes to Umi, but she seems distracted, almost as if she is speaking to herself. Her words are faint, saying how they keep missing each other and how this summer will be the last. As Hairi moves closer, he notices a photograph in her hand. In the picture are all of them together, yet he cannot recall ever taking it. What unsettles him more is the date, August 31st, which is still several days away. Outside, the skies begin to turn gray and soon the rain starts falling. Hairi recalls one of Umi's earlier diary entries, the one predicting thunderstorms today. All of her previous predictions suddenly replay in his mind. This time, he chooses to confront her directly. When pressed, Umi calmly explains that she came here to see her mother because she is already gone. She never knew her, so she came to this island. Hairi guesses she is from the future, and she confirms it. Ever since Umi was a little girl, she's been able to send her soul back into the past. Whenever something upsets her, she would return to an earlier point in time, almost as if she were running away from the present. Yet no matter how far back she goes, she always ends up in the same future. Her father once told her they used to live on the island where she was born, but he took her away and never wanted to return. He avoided talking about the place and never spoke about her mother. Because of this, Umi thinks her father might hate her. Her mother died while giving birth to her. Umi's father once told her about a summer break he spent with her mother. They met by chance on this island. They went fishing together, flew paper airplanes, sang songs, and played by the pool. Hearing this story makes Umi jealous, wishing she could have experienced such a summer with her mother. However, her father eventually returned to the island alone, leaving her behind. That's why she decided to come back on her own. She insists she can manage just fine with her smartphone apps, something Hairi cannot fully understand. The first time she came here, everything felt strangely nostalgic. Since her dad had thrown away all of her mom's photos, she sought out her grandfather in hopes of finding one. She eventually managed to find the photo, but her dad almost discovered it. Afraid that he would take it away from her, she ran, running as fast as she could, until her foot caught on a tree root, sending her tumbling over the edge of a cliff. During her fall, she saw a butterfly drifting in the air. When she reached out and touched it, her body vanished into thin air, transporting her to this exact time and place, not just her soul, but her entire body. Ever since that moment, she has been reliving the same summer over and over again. All of it so she could spend time with her mother. Yet now, something feels different, an uneasy sense that this might be the last time. It is then that Hairi realizes the mother she speaks of is Shiroha. Umi confirms she knew it was Shiroha all this time because she has been with Hairi, her father. The truth shocks him. He never knew she was his daughter. Though everything feels impossible and difficult to believe, Hairi chooses to trust Umi completely. Even so, he cannot help but curse his future self for being so terrible to her. Umi, however, disagrees. After spending so many summers with him and seeing who he truly is, she realizes how kind he can be, and she feels grateful that he is her father. Elsewhere, Shiroha is also quietly sobbing at the thought of Umi. Hairi watches as Umi slowly drifts off to sleep, and in that moment, he understands how lonely her life must have been. Turning to her diary, he begins to read, scanning through page after page until the first light of morning breaks. By then, Hairi is more determined to make this the happiest summer Umi has ever experienced. Hairi wakes up the next morning, and as he slides his blanket aside, he is startled to find Umi clinging to his arm. She is still asleep, murmuring softly about her mother, her eyes wet with tears. Watching her, Hairi makes a quiet promise. He will make this summer fun for her again. But before that, he must first understand what is happening with Shiroha. Later that day, Hairi visits the shaved ice shop to seek advice from Ao. When asked about his intentions, Hairi admits that it is also for himself. Seeing Umi and Shiroha together somehow brings him happiness too. He came to this island running from something, yet with them, it feels like he is regaining what he lost. He wants this summer to be the best for them. But Ao insists he must hear it directly from Shiroha. With that, Hairi heads straight to Shiroha's fishing spot. There she sits quietly as if lost in thought. She doesn't even notice the line tugging until Hairi points it out. Snapping back, she pulls with sudden excitement, only to find a starfish dangling at the end. Seizing the moment, Hairi brings up Umi, but Shiroha refuses to play the role of a mother anymore. Her words from yesterday still echo in Hairi's mind. He wonders if her hesitation is tied to the so-called curse she bears. Yet when he asks, Shiroha avoids the question, telling him instead to stay away from her. Hairi refuses. He tells her he will keep chasing her until she gives him the truth. Irritated, Shiroha finally turns to him and blurts out, "Dasukoi." The word hits Hairi hard. Still, he can only smile at it. No matter how many times she pushes him away, he knows he won't stop until he understands her completely. Left with no other choice, Shiroha finally opens up. She reveals that she can see the future. In her visions, she brings misfortune to others, and that is why she tries not to grow close to anyone. Hairi suggests it could all just be coincidences, but Shiroha once believed the same and even tried to change her fate. Yet, no matter what she did, everything led to the same future. Hairi grows curious about what Shiroha truly saw in her vision, so she begins to explain. She describes a dark sea under heavy rain. From underwater, she watches the surface above, filled with countless red lights. It feels painful, like she can't breathe. Shiroha connects this vision to the upcoming Natsudori festival, where she is meant to play the main role by boarding a ship to guide the souls of their ancestors back to the afterlife. She assumes something must go wrong and that she will end up falling into the sea. Hearing this, Hairi finally understands why Shiroha spends so much time practicing at the pool. She is terrified of drowning. Still, nothing changes. She will still end up in the same future. Hairi tries to comfort her, but Shiroha pushes him away. She would rather carry her fate alone than put others in danger. All she can do is apologize and quietly thank him for the summer they've shared before hurrying to leave. Hairi tries to stop Shiroha from leaving, but he cannot. Powerless, he can only curse himself. When he finally returns home, he finds Umi teary-eyed as she folds pieces of origami. She had been hoping for good news, but Hairi had none to give. Realizing that her mother might truly never come back, Umi breaks down in tears and pulls out a letter. Hairi notices this right away. It isn't the first time he's seen her with it, so he gently asked about it. Umi explains that it's a letter from her mom, but she has never read it, as reading is difficult for her. Moved, Hairi offers to read it for her. The first line says, "Read this when you're sad." The letter encourages Umi not to bottle up her feelings, but to put them into words to share her pain with someone close so the weight becomes lighter. Hairi himself cannot hold back his own tears while gently comforting Umi. Hairi can't help but wonder what Shiroha was going through when she wrote it, and what Umi must have felt whenever she held onto it. Hearing how deeply Umi longs to see her mother, Hairi agrees with her, deciding to take on the responsibility of being her father. With that, the two head to Shiroha's house. Umi quickly recognizes it as her grandfather's home, and she excitedly tells Hairi how kind her grandpa is. Hairi relaxes a little, reassured their visit might go smoothly. However, when the door opens, they are met by a towering, muscled man, Shiroha's grandfather, Kobato. He lets them in, yet his sharp stare is so intense that even Umi hides behind Hairi nervously. A moment later, Shiroha finally appears before them. Hairi and Umi try to explain their intentions, but Shiroha insists on keeping her distance. Even so, Hairi refuses to back down, determined to help her and keep her safe. But when he brings up the ritual, Kobato immediately snaps. He warns Hairi not to meddle, dismissing his words as baseless. On such a small island, he says, rumors spread quickly, and people are easily swayed by them. That, he believes, is why Shiroha became a loner. To him, playing her role in the festival is the only way for her to stop being isolated and change her fate. Hairi tries to explain that Shiroha avoids others because she fears bringing them harm. But before he can finish, Shiroha scolds them both. Left with no choice, Hairi and Kobato lower their heads and apologize. Still, Hairi insists that Shiroha is no longer alone. Umi and he are with her now, ready to move forward together and protect her from whatever danger may come. But Kobato cuts him off. Since Shiroha lost both her parents at a young age, he made it his duty to protect her, especially from city boys like Hairi. To him, Hairi talks too much without proving anything. If he truly wants to stand by Shiroha, then he must first prove himself. Hairi accepts the challenge, but Kobato declares it will be done traditionally through the island's sport of underwater combat. They head to the sea to begin the match. A circle of buoys floats in the middle, ropes dangling down to form a ring. The rules are simple. The first to throw their opponent out of the ring wins. Hearing this, Hairi suddenly sees himself drowning underwater. The image startles him, but he quickly shakes it off. Shiroha can't hide her concern, but Umi insists Hairi will be fine. Kobato enters the water first, waiting calmly for his challenger. Just then, their friends arrive, shouting encouragement. Though half of their cheers sound playful, they try their best to be serious, offering help, even if there's nothing they can do since the combat will be fought underwater. Finally, Hairi steps into the sea. From the shore, Umi, Shiroha, and the others can only watch. Upon diving underwater, Hairi pushes forward, but Kobato suddenly lunges at him, taking him by surprise. Kobato's punches come fast, leaving Hairi unable to react. He manages to throw one back, but it barely phases Kobato. With a swift move, Kobato grabs Hairi's arm and spins him around in the water. The force makes him run out of breath. Seeing his struggle, Kobato tells him to tap out, but Hairi refuses. He knows Kobato only wants him to surrender, and that thought drives him to resist. Even as he runs out of breath, he refuses to give up. Just as Kobato spins faster to finish him, a glowing butterfly appears before Hairi. It feels like Umi's voice calling out to him, and the sound pushes him forward. Motivated by the sound, when Kobato throws him, Hairi pushes back and kicks Kobato out of the ring before losing consciousness. Hairi is awakened by Umi's constant calling, and when he opens his eyes, his friends greet him for winning. He truly defeated Kobato, though he nearly drowned underwater, and Shiroha nearly drowned trying to save him too. Relieved after his victory, Hairi only then realizes how grave the situation was. Seeing Shiroha and Kobato from afar, Hairi asks Shiroha why she risked herself, but she tells him her body just moved on its own. Kobato, on the other hand, is all wound up from trying to save the two of them, making Hairi still look like a loser in the end. Still, Kobato asks what Hairi would like from him. The only thing Hairi wants is to protect Shiroha, to be by her side during the ritual. But Kobato refuses, reminding him only the one involved can participate, with family as the only exception. Since the festival is important, the rule must be followed. Though Kobato is not happy about it either, they have no choice but to comply. Umi suddenly rushes to Shiroha, comforting her and calling her mom. Hearing this, Kobato panics, but Shiroha quickly explains they were just playing house. Then Umi runs to Hairi, calling him her dad. Kobato grows even more furious, but once again, it is brushed off as part of their game. Umi then says that if Shiroha is her mom and Hairi is her dad, then they should be married. This makes Kobato finally snap, demanding to know how they got married. Still, Hairi insists it is all just part of the game. Then Umi finally walks up to Kobato, calling him her grandpa. His mood instantly softens at this. Since Shiroha is his granddaughter, that would make Umi his great-grandchild. Overwhelmed, Kobato kneels down to her, giving his blessing to Hairi and Shiro's marriage. Hairi bows in gratitude after what Kobato said. Shiroha thinks it's just trouble, but the truth is Hairi doesn't mind being in a relationship with her at all. Since they are still young, Hairi suggests they just be sweethearts for now. He is serious about his feelings, so they agree on being married, but also simply sweethearts. To commemorate the day they became a couple, Hairi and Shiroha take a picture together with their friends. The next day, Umi draws in her diary again, this time a picture of her mom and dad getting married. And true enough, things begin to move quickly after that. With the ritual drawing near, they are preparing to approach the fateful day Shiroha once saw in her vision. Before leaving the house, he reminds Umi to stay with Kyuko until he comes back. Umi, however, feels sad, wanting to see her mom for herself, but for her safety, Hairi does not permit her to come along. Meanwhile, Kyuko still can't believe her nephew, who only came to the island for the summer, is actually about to get married there. As Hairi makes his way to the venue, a glowing butterfly appears before him. It feels oddly familiar, and he brushes it off, knowing Shiroha is already waiting for him. That day, Hairi and Shiroha dress in their traditional attire. They successfully complete the butterfly covenant and are pronounced married. With Kobato and the other islanders in attendance, Shiroha performs a graceful dance that leaves Hairi in awe. At last, they walk toward the sea, where Shiroha is to begin the ritual. Upon arriving, Shiroha rides the boat with Hairi, the water glowing with floating lanterns. As they voyage through the sea, the newlywed couple stands hand in hand, while Hairi keeps glancing around, alert for any danger that may arise. At last, their voyage ends and the two return safely to shore. Hairi believes they have changed the future, yet a heavy unease still lingers within Shiroha. Suddenly, rain begins to fall from the sky. Though they have already completed their duties, Shiroha's expression shifts when she suddenly asks about Umi. When Hairi replies that he left her at home with Kyuko, Shiroha's chest tightens as she seems to have seen something. Pulling Hairi close, she urgently whispers that they must return, because Umi is still on the boat. That night, Shiroha and Hairi board a boat once more, determined to rescue Umi, who remains stranded on another vessel adrift at sea. Umi calls out to them in fear as rain pours relentlessly. At last, they reach her boat, where she hurriedly apologizes, though Shiroha and Hairi focus only on her safety. Shiroha stretches out her hand, urging Umi to come aboard. But just as Umi is about to grasp it, a violent wave crashes against the boat, causing Umi to fall into the ocean waters below. Without hesitation, Hairi dives into the waters to save Umi. Determined, he scans the vast ocean while Shiroha follows close behind. Then, through the blur of waves, Shiroha spots Umi sinking deeper into the water. Without a second thought, she swims downward, stretching out her hand. Finally, she catches hold of Umi, but just as she does, her lungs give out. Seeing this, Hairi rushes to them and shares his breath with Shiroha, giving her enough air to recover. With all this strength, Hairi wraps his arms around both girls and pushes upward until he gains sight of their ship. Later, Umi is tucked into bed, already fast asleep as Kyuko watches over her. Shiroha remains in their house as well, exhausted yet deeply grateful. She survived and Umi is safe too. Hairi can't hide his relief after all. Their entire purpose in changing the future was to prevent Shiroha from drowning as in her vision. Still, Shiroha can't help but feel guilty that both Umi and Hairi ended up hurt because of her. But Hairi firmly tells her it was their choice to help and she doesn't need to apologize. Even so, the visions trouble her deeply. She knows they are real, and Hairi admits he also saw the red lights above the water. For Shiroha, that only proves they haven't changed anything about the future. But Hairi shakes his head. He insists the point isn't to erase the future she saw, but to understand it differently. What she sees isn't the end of the story, maybe it's only the trigger. Beyond that, the future still has countless paths, and no matter how hard it may be to reach, he believes the ending will be something beautiful. Shiroha never thought of it that way. She's always been too focused on protecting others, which according to Hairi, makes her a loner. Though she denies being one, Hairi confirms that she isn't one anymore. After all, both Hairi and Umi are there for her. Accepting Hairi's words, Shiroha feels lighter. The future isn't the end. It's only one step towards something more. With this, she quietly thanks him. Just as Shiroha talks about looking forward to the future, she suddenly blushes, remembering something. The moment under the water when Hairi kissed her. Flustered, Hairi quickly explains it wasn't a kiss, only a way to give her air so she could breathe. Shiroha pauses, realizing he's right. If it were just an emergency, then it shouldn't count as her first kiss. After all, neither of them has had one yet. At this, they glance at each other, the silence heavy. Then Hairi nervously asks if they should share one now. Shiroha panics at the idea, but after thinking it over, she admits she doesn't mind. Slowly, they draw closer, the atmosphere thick with anticipation. Shiroha closes her eyes, taking a deep breath. Gently, Hairi places his hands on her shoulders and presses a soft, tender kiss to her lips. The next day, Shiroha decides to visit Umi, and the moment she arrives, Umi quickly embraces her. Concerned, Shiroha asks how she's feeling, and Hairi reassures her that Umi is doing fine. With that, Shiroha prepares a meal for everyone to share, and Kyuko instantly praises her cooking. As they eat together, Hairi suddenly notices that Umi is holding her chopsticks the wrong way. This makes Kyuko puzzled, since Umi had never had trouble using them before. To test it, Umi tries again to pick up a piece of food, but she fails as she can't seem to hold her chopsticks properly. Kyuko gently stands and fetches a spoon for her instead. Hairi and Shiroha exchange worried glances, thinking it could be a complication from the accident. Yet the doctor had confirmed Umi was completely fine, and she herself insists she feels no pain. With that, they decide to brush it off for now. Later that day, the three of them decide to make paper airplanes. Umi eagerly folds her paper, but she makes mistakes while doing so. Hairi patiently reminds her of the proper folds, yet even after his guidance, she repeats the same errors. Seeing her frustration, Shiroha steps in, suggesting they make one together instead. When they finally toss it into the air, Umi laughs brightly, chasing after it with delight. Meanwhile, Hairi and Shiroha stay behind, quietly watching her play. The next day, Umi writes another entry in her diary about playing a prank on her mom, which not only gets her in trouble, but also gets her dad in more trouble. Wanting to make the diary entry come true, the group seeks O's advice. She mischievously suggests flipping her mom's skirt. When they accuse her of being a perv, Al frantically denies it, though Mickey admits it's not a bad idea after all. The skirt flip prank is simple, but the group knew they had to prepare carefully. With everything set, Al called Shiroha over, while Hairi peeked through to make sure the timing was perfect. The moment Shiroha arrived, Umi rushed forward and hugged her tightly, only to slip behind her and lift her skirt, while Hairi executed the final move to complete the prank. After their execution, Shiroha's face went blank and Hairi could only panic silently. Then, with a low voice, she threatened to erase Hairi's memories with her fist. He tried to defend himself, but when she asked Umi directly if he was the mind behind it, the little girl confirmed it without hesitation. Kneeling down, Shiroha scolded Umi gently. But to everyone's surprise, Umi actually seemed happy her mom got angry, smiling as she apologized. Turning back to Hairi, however, Shiroha's eyes narrowed and she coldly called him a creep. That afternoon, the group gathered at their usual shed. Hairi and Ryuichi couldn't stop teasing about catching a glimpse of Shiroha's underwear, but the others only agreed he deserved every bit of her scolding. Bilal had suggested the prank. Mickey couldn't help but wonder why Hairi thought about pranking Shiroha in the first place. With this, Hairi explains that he only wanted Umi's diary entries to come true. But the moment he mentions her name, the friends look confused and ask who Umi is. Hairi freezes, shocked at their reaction. Then, almost suddenly, recognition returns to them. They remember pulling off the prank for Umi's sake. Yet the brief lapse unsettles him. The next day, Hairi lines up with the island kids for their radio calisthenics cards to be checked. Where the coach glances, he notices Hairi is holding 2 cards. A chill runs through him as he realizes he had completely forgotten about Umi. Panic floods his chest as the children behind him stare in confusion, and without another word, he rushes out of line. Cursing himself, Hairi sprints home as fast as he can. Reaching the house, he finds Umi still asleep and quickly shakes her awake. She has already missed radio calisthenics, but the moment she opens her eyes, she breaks into tears, calling desperately for her mother. Hairi is unable to understand her behavior. Then Shiroha appears and Umi calms down, clinging tightly to her. They begin to wonder if Umi is having memory regression, but she doesn't want to be taken to the hospital either. Then Hairi sees a fleeting memory of Umi. The image catches him off guard, and though he brushes it off, the unease lingers. He knows he is forgetting something important, even if he can't point out what it is. That evening, Umi writes in her diary that it will rain, and she will take a bath with her mom. Just as written, the rain pours heavily, and Umi and Shiroha share the bath together, laughing in the water. Hairi waits outside, carefully preparing their clothes. When Umi suddenly calls for him to join them, he flusters and refuses, not ready for that yet. When Umi finally drifts off to sleep, Hairi can't help but notice how she predicted the rain so perfectly. Shiroha agrees, though she quietly admits it feels like she cheated this summer by having Umi. When Hairi first asked her to become Umi's mother, she thought it would be simple, especially with the promise of popsicles as a reward. There are still plenty stored in the freezer, yet Shiroha has stopped eating them. Doing so feels like it would cheapen the meaning of her time with Umi. What she truly wants is to be a best mother for her. After all, not everyone gets the chance to become one for the summer. She's certain she will be a mother someday, but it feels like she skipped ahead unfairly this time. Hairi assumes she wants children soon, and Shiroha admits it. She also hopes they'll be like Umi. Hearing this, Hairi reaches for her hand. He confesses he can't bear long distance after summer ends, and to his relief, Shiroha feels exactly the same. With that, Hairi vows to work hard and save enough to visit her every weekend. Shiroha finds the idea absurd, yet Hairi is determined to make it work. Though hesitant, Shiroha can't help but feel happy about it. That same day, Hairi and Shiroha walked hand in hand along the seaside. Hairi asks if it's a date, and to his delight, Shiroha agrees. She learned it was his first since he attended an all-boys school. To his surprise, it was hers too, while Hairi jokingly tells her it's because she's a loner. Watching a nearby ship, Hairi wondered why they had never done this before. Shiroha admitted they were probably just too shy. As they continued walking, Hairi began to think about the future. Half joking, he asked what they would prefer if they ever had children, boy or girl. Shiroha panicked, pulling her hand away, misunderstanding his meaning. But in that moment, both of them suddenly froze. A memory resurfaces. They realized they have completely forgotten about Umi. Alarmed, Shiroha told Hairi they needed to return immediately. However, Umi is just nearby, quietly watching from the side. Surprised, Hairi and Shiroha approach her, only to realize she has followed them all the way there. With this, they decide to take photos together. Hairi first takes a picture of Shiroha and Umi, yet, as he holds the camera, he can't shake the thought that he and Shiroha had actually forgotten about Umi. Looking back, all he wanted was to make this summer perfect for her, to give her time with her mother, yet he ends up forgetting her in the process. Soon, Umi walks up to him, too shy to say what she wants. She leans towards Shiroha and whispers instead. Shiroha smiles softly, encouraging her to speak up, so Umi explains that she wants a photo of all 3 of them together. Hairi agrees immediately. With Umi standing between them, they pose, and in one snap, he captures a moment of pure happiness. Later that day, they brought the film to Ao to have it developed. Since it takes time, Ao promises to contact them when it is ready. Shiroha swears they will pick it up together, though Hairi still can't shake the fear of forgetting Umi again. Suddenly, their attention shifts toward a fireworks poster displayed in the store. It announces a festival tomorrow, marking the end of summer. Hairi feels a twinge of sadness at the thought, but he quickly turns to Umi and asks if she wants to watch the fireworks with him. Umi instantly nods with excitement, and Hairi silently vows not to forget his promise. That night, Umi drifts into sleep while Hairi and Shiroha remain by her side. On the floor beside them lies the picture book they have all drawn together. Shiroha realizes she has not yet finished reading the story aloud to Umi, so she carefully picks it up and reads. As she flips through the pages and reaches the final scene, Hyrie leans in with curiosity. Suddenly, a faint memory flickers across his mind. He suddenly realizes he cannot remember how they even created this story. That morning, Hyrie wakes up to find Shiroha sleeping beside him. He is startled to see her there, and Shiroha feels the same. Neither of them remembers why they ended up at a sleepover. As they think back to the previous night, their cheeks flush in embarrassment, even though nothing had actually happened between them. Early that morning, O arrives at Hyrie's home. The moment she steps inside, she catches sight of the two together, still flustered. With this, O assumes they spent the night together, and though Hyrie and Shiroha are unsure, they awkwardly admit it. This leaves O surprised by the situation, even though the two are in a relationship. But she quickly tells them her reason for visiting, which is to deliver the photos they had asked to be developed yesterday. As they scan through the photos one by one, almost all of them show only Shiroha, except for two photos where Hyrie happens to appear. Ao admits there is something special about Shiroha's smile, suggesting it might be because of Hyrie. He shyly agrees, but as he continues looking, he feels that something is missing. Ao wonders if some photos weren't developed, but that isn't the case. Even Shiroha can only stare in confusion. Later, the two sit down to a breakfast of fried rice. Out of nowhere, Hyrie asks Shiroha what score she would give. Startled by the question, she hesitates before rating it a 20 out of 100. In the kitchen, Shiroha notices that every utensil comes in pairs, even though Hyrie lives alone. Meanwhile, lying in his room, Hyrie wonders why he is the one cooking when Shiroha is clearly the better cook. As his gaze drifts, he spots the picture book they once made together. However, he is forgetting why there is a picture book in there in the first place. Shiroha also finds a paper airplane, so she and Hyrie decide to fly it outside. They recall the last time they did this, and Shiroha even remembers the name she gave her airplane. Together, they throw their planes into the sky. Just as they drift upward, another airplane made of colorful paper suddenly passes by. Both of them stare in confusion, and without realizing it, tears begin to spill from Hyrie's eyes. Shiroha soon starts crying as well, for they both remember the promise they made to watch the fireworks together that day. The festival grounds are crowded with stalls and people, but Shiroha gently takes Hyrie's hand and leads him to a quieter part of the shore. It is a secret spot where the two of them can watch the fireworks alone. When the display begins, the two are filled with awe. The fireworks mark the end of summer, and upon realizing it, something stirs in Hyrie's memory. Once again, tears well in their eyes. They realize that they weren't able to keep their promise. Hyrie whispers an apology when suddenly a hand holds both of them. To their surprise, is Umi, smiling brightly as ever. With this, both of them break down. Shiroha immediately pulls Umi into her arms, apologizing over and over again. She begs her not to leave ever again, promising she will be a better mother, promising to do all the things they want together, to play games, enjoy the summer as usual, and stay by her side until the night fades and the morning rises. But even if Umi longs to stay with them, there is nothing she can do. It is not because Shiroha has failed as a mother. In fact, she assures them that she has truly enjoyed everything about this summer. She was able to spend her days with both Shiroha and Hyrie, and for that, she is deeply thankful. Umi also thanks Hyrie for giving her such a fun summer, but Hyrie quickly insists this cannot be the end. With determination, he vows to make sure every season will be filled with joy, not just summer. Umi turns her gaze to the fireworks lighting up the sky. In that moment, she realizes that they did manage to keep their promise after all. Encouraged, Hyrie suggests they make another promise. He wants Umi to start writing in her diary again, and together, they will ensure that everything she writes comes true. He pleads for her to write the rest of her diary, but his voice falters and tears begin to well up in his eyes. Umi gently disagrees with him. She cannot write another diary. She tells them she is already satisfied that she had so much fun spending this summer with her mom and dad, but when she notices their tears, guilt fills her heart. She apologizes, crying, afraid she is the only one who ended up happy. For her, every day has been pure joy, and she only wishes that summer could last forever. Shiroha suddenly pulls Umi into a tight embrace, admitting that she was happy too. She is grateful she got to meet Umi before the summer ends. Hyrie joins them, wrapping his arms around both, and confesses he also had the time of his life. He wishes this summer could last forever. As the fireworks bloom, the three of them reflect on every memory they created together. But all things must end. Umi steps back, she thanks them both, expressing how truly grateful she is before whispering her final goodbye. Slowly, she raises her hand to wave, and she slowly fades into the night. Hyrie and Shiroha try to reach out to her, but they can no longer do it. Umi has vanished completely. When the silence settles, the night sky is quiet. However, they don't understand why they have tears in their eyes. It's like they have only gone back to their senses, and they didn't even notice that the fireworks had already ended. All they can do is stare blankly at the sky above. Meanwhile, Umi has been on a long journey. while on the way, she creates memories she never thought possible, treasuring that summer deep in her heart. The summer she had always repeated begins as a simple adventure, yet becomes something far greater. She discovers a summer filled with friendship, then another where her limited time shines as a glimmering memory. There is a summer where she nurtures and protects her memories with those dearest to her, and one where she learns the vast possibilities of never giving up. Finally, she finds a summer where she spends her days with her mother, which she cherishes the most. Yet, if given the chance, Umi would gladly wait forever just to stay with her mother. The summer after that, Hairi returns to the island. Shiroha is there waiting for him, and together they walk hand in hand. In time, they marry for real. Their friends gather to witness the ceremony. Their relationship has always been strong, but it takes time before they earn Kobato's approval. During the wedding, he cannot hold back his tears, struggling to accept that Shiroha is finally leaving his side. Kyuko also makes sure Shiro's mother is remembered, holding up her photo so her presence can be felt on this special day. From then on, they live happily together, settling to Hairi's house, where every day feels complete. At times, Shiroha swears she hears the faint voice of a child, but she looks forward only to the life she and Hairi will build. Seasons pass quickly, and soon Shiroha shares surprising news. She is pregnant. Hairi can hardly believe it, but when Shiroha confirms she is telling the truth, he screams in complete joy. Soon, Hairi and Shiroha begin preparing for their baby's arrival. The islanders gather together, offering help with everything they need. Everyone, including Kobato and Hairi, waits with excitement for Shiroha's child, who will later grow to be Umi to be born. As the months pass, Shiro's belly grows. She often feels her baby's movements and sings gentle songs for her to hear. But one afternoon, something unusual happens. Shiroha sees something again that she cannot ignore. Her body trembles upon this discovery. Somehow, she knows her baby will be a girl and that they have already met her. It has been so long since she last had such visions, so she wonders why they are coming back. Slowly, she sees the truth. She understands now why Umi appeared to her that summer. Shiroha calls out to Umi, who seems to stand across the room, though invisible to her eyes. Tears stream down her face as she picks up the photo they once took together. With a trembling voice, she apologizes over and over, even though Umi knows that her mother is not at fault. When it's time to choose a name for their baby, Shiroha and Hairi both think of the same name, Umi. Shiroha doesn't seem shocked, but Hairi insists they should also prepare a boy's name just in case. Shiroha gently tells him not to worry as she knows that their child will be a girl and it will be Umi. From then on, Umi begins to notice her mother changing little by little. Whenever Hairi is away at work, Shiroha often spends her time in the shed, reading old records and documents. She searches endlessly for a way to prevent Umi's ability to return to the past. Yet, in her determination, Shiroha frequently overworks herself. Her only wish is for Umi to live a normal life. Umi remembers Hairi's words that the future can be changed if they don't give up. With that thought, so in that summer, she decided to do something. If only Shiroha had not been given the power to see the future. One afternoon, when Hairi returns home from work, he assumes Shiroha is buried in her research again. But as he steps inside, he finds her collapsed on the floor, surrounded by scattered books. That moment changes everything. Hairi frantically calls for a doctor. On the table is a notebook, and Shiroha only manages to write a letter for Umi before she loses consciousness. On that very same day, their daughter Umi was born. Hairi gently tells Shiroha the joyful news of their baby's arrival. But his words reach no answer. Shiroha lies motionless beside Umi, her face hidden under a piece of fabric. She is gone. Overcome with grief, Hairi cries out her name. His tears fall when he gazes upon her one last time. Soon, their friends from the island also gather at the house, mourning the loss of Shiroha. From a distance, Umi watches silently. She realizes everything her mother endured was for her sake. Unable to bear the sorrow, she wishes to run away. In that instant, she disappears, returning once more to the summer when Hairi first arrived on the island. She finds herself in that same summer again, yet this time she decides not to interfere. If she keeps her distance, maybe her parents won't grow close and their future will change. But even without her presence, Shiroha and Hairi still meet by the pool. They spend time together, fall in love, and share the same summer as before. Their bond grows naturally, unchanged by Umi's absence. Umi thought something different would happen, yet Shiroha still remembers her. Even though Umi never appeared that summer, her existence remains in her mother's memory. That is when Umi realizes that her mom has been returning to the past just like her. No matter what changes, the cycle always repeats. Shiroha dies and Umi is born. Unable to accept this fate, Shiroha keeps running, reliving the same summer over and over. And each time, Umi's soul is pulled back as well, trapped in the same endless loop. Once again, Umi finds herself on Hairi's first day on the island, reliving that same summer that always ends in tragedy. To her, it no longer feels like a future, but an endless replay of the past. Confused, she wonders what she must do to save her mother. Then her mother's words echo in her heart. If it weren't for that ability, Umi would have lived a normal life. Suddenly, Umi understands. The only way to change fate is to let go of her ability that keeps dragging her back, which is triggered each time she runs away, choosing the past over the future. Perhaps the same thing happened to her mother, trapping her in this repeating summer. Quietly, Umi apologizes to her father. She decides not to follow him this time. Instead, she will return to where she truly belongs, even if it means she may never return. That time she makes her choice, she chooses a place where she no longer exists. Umi, now transformed into a butterfly, continues to fly, yet the more she flutters forward, the more she begins to lose. Through every summer she has lived, she carries countless precious memories, but soon everything becomes hazy. Just as she starts to lose hope, a hand reaches out. The fragments of her summers patch together, forming the body she thought she had lost. Umi reaches out to the butterfly and everything changes. She feels a tickling sensation across her skin until, gradually, she opens her eyes. To her surprise, she finds herself surrounded by chickens inside a coop. Looking closely, she notices a name tag on one of them, Catherine. She thanks the chicken softly. Then suddenly, the coop door opens, revealing Kobato, who stares at her with tense, confused eyes. Startled, Umi asks where she is and who she is. With this, Kobato decides to take her into his home. It's clear that Umi has no memory of her identity. As they speak, younger Shiroha peeks from the doorway. Umi greets her cheerfully, but Shiroha runs away in fright. Finally, Kobato turns back and formally introduces himself to Umi. Now that they know each other, Kobato suggests Umi get proper checkup regarding her memory loss in the city. He even offers to accompany her after she eats, which fills her with gratitude. With that, Shiroha lays out a variety of dishes in front of Umi. Umi tries to thank her. When asked about where she learned her name, Umi explains that her dad mentioned it, but Shiroha quickly denies it. With tears in her eyes, she says she no longer has a dad because he's dead, then she rushes outside once more. At that moment, Kobato enters the house, curious about why Shiroha was crying. Umi apologizes but suddenly screams in fear, insisting that Kobato is supposed to be dead. So Kobato explains that he is not her father but Shiro's grandfather. Then he encourages Umi to eat before her food grows cold. With that, Umi takes a bite of the food and her face instantly lights up at the taste. She compliments it and Kobato explains that the chicken was prepared just that morning, which is why it's so fresh. However, as Umi scans the table, her eyes fall on the name tag she saw earlier, Catherine. This horrifies her, and she drops her chopsticks in shock. Before they leave for the city, Kobato checks on Umi, but instead, she rushes towards Shiroha, who is peeking shyly through the door. Umi apologizes for earlier, and they talk until Kobato calls out again, prompting Umi to return. By afternoon, Kobato ends up returning with Umi. This makes Shiroha wonder why she's still there. They explain that just as Umi was about to board the ship, she froze in fear and couldn't go through with it. Embarrassed, Umi admits it herself, but soon she and Shiroha laugh together at the situation. Kobato then tells Shiroha that Umi will be staying with them for the time being. Through tea, Umi asks if it's really right for her to stay, but Kobato assures her that it is. After all, only he and Shiroha live in the house, and since he is often away for work, having someone else around isn't bad. Still, Kobato warns her not to mention Shiro's parents, especially her mother. He explains that Shiro's father died in an accident and soon after, her mother mysteriously disappeared. Losing both parents within a month was difficult for Shiroha, though she rarely cried in front of him. Shifting the subject, Kobato asks Umi for her name. Since she can't remember at all, they decide to make one up. While thinking, she suddenly mentions the sea, the 7 seas in particular. Kobato finds it ironic since she can't even bring herself to ride the water. However, he still suggests a name connected to it. Nanami for now. That name will do. That night under the starry sky, Nanami reflects on what had truly been her name. Reaching into her pocket, she finds a butterfly wing. Curious, she lifts her gaze and sees a glowing butterfly fluttering above her. Just then, Shiroha calls her in for dinner, and with a smile, Nanami walks back toward the house. In search of her lost memories, Nanami spends her days wandering the island. She walks endlessly, yet nothing seems to resurface. While Kobato is away working, Shiroha also disappears for most of the day, only returning briefly at lunch before heading out again until evening. One day, Kobato brings home a large haul of seafood for dinner. Nanami eats it eagerly, but she notices Shiro's face remains expressionless. Though sashimi every day feels like a luxury, Nanami assumes it must not be good for a child to eat constantly. With that, she rummages through the kitchen and cooks fried rice for Shiroha, hoping it will make her enjoy the meals better somehow. After seeing her final dish, Nanami immediately wonders how she learned to cook it. She calls it chaofan, then Shiroha walks in, seeing what she cooked. They argue whether to call it chaofan or fried rice, so in the end, they agree to combine the two words together and call it fried fan. When Shiroha tastes it, she immediately smiles. This makes Nanami think she really is sick of eating only sashimi every day. Unbeknownst to her, Kobato is actually behind her. This startles Nanami, but Kobato immediately looks at the plate of fried rice she prepares for him. He tastes it and says it is good, though something seems to bother him. Kobato thanks Nanami for the meal. He sees that she can cook, so he wants her to cook for Shiroha, but he suddenly brushes the idea off, saying she is supposed to be a guest. Though Nanami doesn't really mind cooking for them, he simply finishes his plate and leaves them in a rush. Now the two are left alone, and that's when Shiroha mentions it tastes just like her dad's cooking. She wants Nanami to teach her how to do it, but even if she'd like to, she only goes on by feeling. Besides that, Kobato doesn't seem pleased with her cooking. With that, Shiroha decides to bring Nanami to her secret place. Shiroha brings Nanami to a closed restaurant where her dad used to cook. Though her mom couldn't cook, she often helped her dad with things there. However, after her dad died, her mom disappeared all of a sudden. Shiroha isn't quite sure where she went, but she assumes she left to look for her dad, as her parents were very close. Then Shiroha picks up a broom and begins sweeping the floor. Nanami now understands that she has been going there to clean, just like her mom used to do every day. With that, Nanami picks up a mop and decides to clean with her as well. There in the restaurant, Nanami cooks the same fried rice again. Even though it's quite flavorful, Shiroha admits her dad's was still better. This makes Nanami wonder what might be different. That's when Shiroha suddenly remembers a recipe her father wrote. She looks for it and hands it over to Nanami so she can follow it. However, there are some phrases in it that Nanami can't quite understand, almost like they are mystery ingredients. Shiroha explains that those are items found only on the island, and she once helped her mom gather them so she knows exactly where to get them. The first one, an old man named Siryu, hands them a rod that helps them catch the king of the ocean, a crayfish. Next, Suzaku gives them leftover vegetables from the produce shop. After that, Genbu helps them draw spring water to cook the rice with. Finally, Bako hands them a pack of boar meat. With all the ingredients gathered, they head home, but Shiroha ends up falling asleep on Nanami's back along the way. That night, after arriving home, Nanami lays Shiroha down to sleep in her bed. Kobato assumes she got tired from having fun all day. Nanami confirms this, mentioning they went around the island and even met some of his friends, Siryu, Suzaku, Genbu, and Bako. At this, Kobato bursts out in anger, since Genbu is supposed to be his designation, and yet someone else has taken it. Still, Kobato composes himself in front of Nanami and thanks her for spending time with Shiroha. He then mentions that he went around the island to look for clues about her identity, but he found nothing. Nanami tells him not to worry about it, but Kobato insists she should. He also warns her about the closed restaurant on the hill, telling her she may wander there, but not to bring Shiroha, as it would make her feel sad. This takes Nanami aback, so she asks if Shiro's mother ever had friends. Kobato explains she had plenty, but the one she was closest to was Kyuko. That night, Nanami goes to Kyuko. She introduces herself and Kyuko welcomes her warmly into her home. Over tea, they begin talking about what happened to Hitomi, Shirova's mother. Kyuko admits that even she doesn't fully understand it, Hitomi simply vanished one day. But she recalls their last conversation just before she disappeared. Hitomi had spoken about the tale of Shirohane. The tale of Shirohane is a story of a woman who turned into a butterfly to see someone she loves. To do so, she throws herself into the ocean, offering herself to the god of the sea. In return, she gains the power to transform into a butterfly and see her beloved, but she eventually loses everything else in exchange. Nanami is startled to hear that Hitomi had been talking about such things before vanishing. Kyuko admits her friend had grown attached to old folktales. When Nanami asks more about her, Kyuko speaks fondly, describing Hitomi as fun. She also recalls Hitomi's favorite saying about how she always insisted she had no time for nostalgia. Going home, Nanami still hasn't found anything useful aside from the tale of Shirohane. But when she looks at the sea, an image of a woman jumping into it suddenly flashes in her mind. She pauses because of this, yet all she sees is a butterfly. She pulls out the wing from her pocket and wonders if it will answer some of her questions. The next day, they return to the restaurant. Nanami cooks fried rice for Shiroha once again, but after giving it a taste, she feels like something is still missing. Nanami followed every step in the recipe, so she doesn't understand why it doesn't taste the same. Shiroha comments that her father's version is a bit sweeter, prompting Nanami to ask if she remembers him adding anything special. Shiroha recalls her dad sprinkling black things into the rice. Curious, Nanami rereads the recipe and finally notices a drawing at the bottom of the paper. It resembles the sun, though it makes little sense. Still, Nanami assumes it is a clue for the ingredient, so with determination, they went on to look for it. They walk around the island in search of the sun, but nothing they find seems close to being an ingredient. Suddenly, Shiro's friends rush in excited to see her, since they haven't been able to play with her at all since summer began. With all her friends gathered, Nanami seizes the chance to ask if they know anything about what they're looking for. The kids think hard until Miki recalls something Shiroha always said about the sun. This stirs Shiroha's own memories and she grows teary-eyed at the thought. She leads Nanami to a sunflower field. There, Nanami finally realizes what the black things are. They are sunflower seeds, which are also a little sweet, confirming the missing ingredient. But when Nanami turns to Shiroha, she sees her just standing there, motionless. It's her first time being back in that place since she lost her parents. Shiroha breaks into tears, remembering moments with her mom and dad, aching to be with them again, but they aren't here this summer anymore. In that moment, Nanami wants nothing more than to bring back what Shiroha has lost, but she can't. Instead, a memory surfaces in her mind. Though her memory seemed vague, tears fill her eyes too, and she silently decides, this summer, all she wants is to make Shiroha smile. That day, Nanami decides to cook the fried fan again. Shiroha takes a bite but admits her father's version had more pepper. That makes Nanami disappointed, yet she only stands up and rushes back to try again. Nanami keeps cooking, pan after pan, filling the sink with dishes. Still, none of them taste quite right. While crushing sunflower seeds, Shiroha wears a distant expression, and Nanami can't help but notice. Her only wish this summer is to see Shiroha smile, so she continues. Finally, after many attempts, Shiroha takes another bite. This time, her eyes brighten. Nanami has finally recreated her father's cooking. Overjoyed, Nanami bursts into joy while Shiroha thanks her sincerely. That being said, Nanami decides to try the fried fan she cooked herself. The moment she tastes it, something stirs inside her. The flavor feels strangely nostalgic, as if she had eaten it somewhere before. An image suddenly flashes in her mind. Shiroha notices this and gently taps her head, offering comfort before pulling Nanami into an embrace. Later that day, Nanami and Shiroha prepare the fried fan again, this time to share with Kobato. As they present the dish, Nanami claims Shiroha was the one who made it, but Shiroha insists she only helped. Intrigued by this, Kobato takes a spoonful and places it in his mouth. Slowly, his expression shifts. Suddenly, Kobato asks the two of them to explain themselves. His gaze shifts towards Shiroha, reminding her of his warning about visiting the restaurant. Seeing her grandfather's reaction, Shiroha rushes out of the room. Now left alone, Nanami turns to Kobato with her frustration spilling out. She reminds him how hard Shiroha worked for this and that she deserved gentleness. She believes his grief has made him unfair toward her. Kobato softens, explaining that the fried fan only changed Shiroha to the past. But Nanami doesn't accept this, pressing him about Shiroha's mother. Remembering Shiroha's joy at the restaurant earlier, when they were cooking, she grows suspicious of why Kobato truly wants to keep her away from it. Nanami insists that the restaurant holds happy memories, urging Kobato to give her answers. At last, Kobato sighs deeply, saying not all memories are happy. He recalls how his late wife once spoke of their family's special lineage, a mysterious power passed down through generations. But that power always came with a price. Whenever he pressed her for details, she never explained. She only smiled and told him to simply enjoy the summer while it lasted. Years later, their daughter Hitomi repeated the same words to him. She urged him to make sure Shiroha enjoyed every summer she had. Then Hitomi disappeared, leaving Shiroha behind. Losing both her parents broke Shiroha's heart, and out of pity, Kobato tried to shield her from the restaurant. He feared it would trap her in grief, even if it meant she might resent him for it. Looking at Nanami, Kobato admits he appreciates how much she has done for Shiroha. But recalling just how much Shiroha's parents loved each other, Kobato laments, he's only an old man left to watch over Shiroha, feeling unworthy of the role. Soon the sun goes down, and while staring at the sky, Nanami can't help but notice just how sad this summer feels. She feels conflicted, not wanting either Shiroha or Kobato to be burdened with sadness, so she decides she must end it. As she wonders about this strange feeling, a butterfly suddenly flies in front of her. It feels almost like the butterfly is giving her a clue, because in that moment, she remembers what she's supposed to do. Suddenly, all her memories come rushing back. She is brought back to her life as Umi. She remembers throwing paper airplanes with her mom, the future Shiroha, and her dad, Hairi. She recalls the photos they took together as a family, and even the moment they kept their promise by watching the fireworks at the end of summer. But soon the sad memories return as well. She remembers coming back from the future just to see her mom on that very island. In that moment, Nanami finally understands why she is there. She came from the future, and the reason she returned is to help the people most dear to her. Tears begin to fall as the realization sinks in. Looking at the butterfly once more, she quietly thanks it for giving her the clarity she needed. Then, as the butterfly drifts into the night sky, Nanami knows exactly what she must do. That night, Shiroha had a strange dream. She calls out for her mom and dad, but no matter how far she looks, no one is there. Only two sets of footprints remain on the sand. Desperate, she stumbles forward to follow them, hoping they will lead her to her parents. But before she can reach the end, the waves crash in and wash the footprints away. At that moment, Shirova can't do anything but collapse to her knees, tears falling as she cries out from loneliness, wondering why her parents left her behind. Just then, a glowing butterfly drifts down before her. She gazes at it, captivated, watching closely as it flutters into the night. Then Shirova wakes up with her heart still heavy. The dream lingers, making her lonelier than before. Quietly, she sits in one corner of her room, clutching the family picture tightly to her chest. Staring at it, she wonders why she keeps seeing that dream, and if the butterfly was trying to tell her something. Meanwhile, back at the house, Nanami and Kobato share a meal. Before they start eating, Kobato casually mentions a volunteering project happening at Shiroha's school, where parents are invited to participate. Nanami finds this surprising, wondering why there would be school activities during summer break. Kobato explains that it's a preparation for the upcoming Natsudora ritual. Thinking about the activity, Nanami believes it would be the perfect chance for Shiroha and Kobato to make up. To her surprise, however, Kobato asks her to go in his place. Nanami immediately refuses, insisting that it should be Kobato who goes with Shiroha. But Shiroha hasn't spoken to him since their argument, shutting herself in her room and even refusing meals. Nanami also realizes Kobato has been trying to make peace with Shiroha by cooking for her. Instead of answering, Kobato gives her a weary stare before admitting that the other children might feel uneasy if he were the one to attend. Left with no choice, Nanami only smiles. Now alone, Nanami regrets that she missed her chance to say no. Her thoughts drift back to the Natsudori festival, recalling when she once made lanterns with her father. It was a day filled with laughter, and her mother danced so gracefully as well. Holding onto that memory, Nanami resolves to give Shiro the same joy. The next day, the day of the lantern-making project finally arrives. The classroom is lively and filled with students and parents, yet Shiroha is nowhere to be seen, which makes her friends uneasy. But just as their concerns grow heavier, they spot her at the school gate, walking toward the classroom. But to their surprise, it isn't her grandfather accompanying her. When Nanami steps inside, she pauses for a moment, overwhelmed by the number of children inside the classroom. She glances at Shiroha and quietly vows that together, they'll make the most beautiful lantern of them all. Soon, the teacher begins to gather everyone's attention and explain the meaning of the ritual. At this time of year, she says, the spirits of departed loved ones return for a short while. They visit the world of the living to check up on their loved ones, and then they will return to where they came from once again. The lanterns serve as guiding lights, helping them find their way back to the other side. Hearing this, Shiro's expression suddenly darkens. Her gaze lingers on the paper lantern in front of her. When Nanami asks her what's wrong, Shiro quietly mutters that she doesn't want it. To her, helping the lanterns guide the souls back only means saying goodbye to her parents forever. Overwhelmed, she suddenly hurls the lantern to the ground, shattering it before running out of the classroom in tears. Nanami immediately tries to follow, but before she can reach the door, a group of children blocks her way. Mistaking the situation, they accuse her of bullying Shiroha and refuse to let her through. Nanami pleads with them, but the misunderstanding leaves her trapped, unable to chase after her. Meanwhile, Shiroha continues to run until exhaustion slows her down. Tears swell up in her eyes as she looks up at the empty sky, calling out desperately for her mother and father, confessing to how much she misses them both. When Shiroha arrives home, she's surprised to find a pair of slippers and luggage by the doorstep. It seems they have a visitor. Sure enough, inside the house, Grandma Kato is kneeling before the portraits of Shiroha's late parents, offering them a solemn prayer. It is the first time she's been able to pay her respects, so she apologizes to Kobato for being so late. Kobato, however, simply shakes it off, saying the two loved her deeply and must be overjoyed to see her there now. Even so, Kato's expression tightens with grief. She admits she still cannot believe they lost Hitomi as well, whispering that perhaps it was connected to the Naruse family's mysterious power. For a moment, she touches her own face, almost as if grounding herself. As the two continue to talk, Shiroha only listens to them inside her room. Once they're done, Kato explains that someone is already waiting for her at the port, and that she only stopped by briefly on her way there. With this, she and Kobato exchange farewells before she hurries out. But just as Kato hasn't gotten far, Shiroha rushes to catch up with her. Kato freezes, stunned to see how much she has grown. For a moment, she whispers that it almost feels like Hitomi is the one bringing them together. Her words only make Shiroha tear up. With trembling eyes, she asks if Kato knows where her mother went. She demands answers, crying that it feels like Hitomi abandoned her. Kato firmly denies this. Though she doesn't give a direct answer, she scolds Shiroha for thinking such a thing. Instead, she gently takes her hand and recalls how the last time they saw each other, Shiroha was still small. She remembers Hitomi's deep care for Shiroha, how she would often say that she and her daughter shared the same powers. To overcome them, Hitomi wanted every summer to be filled with joy. Kato insists that Hitomi loves Shiroha dearly, so she must believe in her. As Kato walks away, Shiroha is left standing in silence, her mind replaying her words over and over. She wonders what kind of powers her mother was talking about, but no matter how hard she thinks, nothing seems to make sense. What she does remember, though, is the very first time she had that strange dream. She had woken up with tears in her eyes, but Hitomi was there to comfort her. Shiroha told her about the dream about how a butterfly appeared and whispered that she had the power to see her mother. At the time, Shiroha thought it was nothing but a strange story. Yet, Hitomi pulled her into a tight hug. Now that memory stirs a new thought. If she and her mother shared the same power, Hitomi may have used it to see her father again. This fills Shiroha with questions. But before she can dwell further, she is interrupted by Nanami's voice. Breathing heavily, Nanami calls out to her, worried, just as the others in class had been earlier. Nanami tries to talk to Shiroha, but she seems bothered as her mind dwells elsewhere. Ever since the parent-student project at school, Shiroha has grown silent. She rarely leaves her room, and the once lively house has become quiet. Not every day of that summer is fun, yet Nanami knows summers like this well. She remembers the one she spent with her mother and father. That is the kind of summer she longs for Shiroha to have too. But before she can help her, there is something she needs to understand. Nanami visits Kyuko once more, returning to the same question she asked only days earlier, the story of the woman who became a butterfly. Kyuko explains that being a butterfly gives her wings and the freedom to go wherever she wishes, whether into the past or into the future. But she warns that when the line between past and present disappears, it ceases to be freedom and becomes a prison, a cycle that repeats endlessly. Just like summer, which only begins in July and ends in August, its limits are what make it precious. Likewise, if summer were to last forever, it would no longer feel like freedom, but instead a cage. With this thought, Nanami posed a question. If someone had the power to return to the past and see the person they loved most, would they be willing to give up everything for it? Kyuko answers that she would. It contradicts her earlier words, yet she admits that if such a chance appeared, she would likely seize it. Still, she reminds Nanami that she holds no such power, so the idea remains only a dream. Nanami, however, keeps pondering Kyuko's words. As she prepares to leave, she thanks her, but before she can go, Kyuko points out that Nanami, despite her amnesia, seems far more interested in Hitomi than in discovering her own identity. Nanami quickly claims it is simply another way of learning more about the island. Yet Kyuko only smiles, hinting that Nanami must already know everything, since this isn't the first time they have spoken. For a moment, Nanami wonders if Kyuko has seen through her true identity as Umi, but the woman is only referring to their earlier conversation days ago. Relieved, Nanami continues on her way. Left alone, Kyuko gazes up at the sky, murmuring softly that summer is almost at its end. As Nanami walks home alone, she turns Kyuko's words over in her mind. It's true that if someone had the power to go back, they would never resist the chance to see their loved one again. That much is certain, and Nanami doubts she could ever stop anyone from doing so. Even she has learned countless things by repeating the same summer again and again. She also knows there isn't just one fixed future, but if Shiroha uses her powers, that future will be sealed shut forever. Days later, the island stirs with excitement as stalls for the Natsadori festival begin to line the streets. Kobeto gave them a little spending money, so Shiroha beams with joy, immediately asking for grilled squid. She buys herself the grilled squid she had been craving, and the moment Shiroha takes a bite, her smile shines brightly. For a fleeting instant, Nanami thinks that if they can just keep making memories like this, the summer will be enough. Shiroha will no longer feel the pull to use her power. Though this summer was meant to be one Shiroha spends all alone, Nanami's presence gives her comfort, and that alone makes Nanami feel like her long journey is finally holding purpose. Lost in her thoughts, Nanami almost misses Shiroha watching her closely. She assures her that she's fine, and they continue strolling together. Then the highlight of the festival begins. A woman steps onto the stage, moving with grace as she performs the traditional dance. Watching her, Nanami recalls Shiroha dancing the same way. That night, as the festival reaches its most beautiful moment, the people gather to release floating lanterns across the water. They swarm closely on the streets, but Shiroha and Nanami remain behind. Shiroha recalls how she cried every day after her father's death until one evening she heard a voice. It told her she had the power to meet him again, and she believed she could still see him. When she shared this with her mother, Hitomi's reaction was not comfort but shock. Soon after, her mother disappeared. Since then, Shiroha convinces herself that maybe Hitomi discovered the way first and went ahead to meet her father. That thought has lingered in her heart after all these days, leaving her lost and uncertain of what to do. Then a glowing butterfly drifts past them. Shiroha's eyes widen and she suddenly apologizes to Nanami, saying she must go as she needs to see her mother. Convinced the butterfly has come to guide her, she rushes off into the crowd, chasing its glow. With that, Nanami reacts instantly, pushing herself to follow. The streets are overflowing with people, and while Shiroha slips through gracefully with her light frame gliding between the people, Nanami struggles. The chase carries them beyond the festival into the edge of the forest. Nanami calls out, but Shiroha doesn't respond. Instead, a faint light gleams deeper within the trees. With determination, Nanami presses forward until the forest opens before her. There, hundreds of glowing butterflies rise and swirl, filling the air. At the center of it all stands a great tree, and before it, Shiroha stands, feeling it. Seeing the sight before her, Nanami hurries to Shiroha's side, but Shiroha only looks at her with surprise. She cannot understand why Nanami followed. Softly, she explains that Nanami cannot pass through as only those with the special power can reach the place she is heading. Shiroha believes that it is where her mother went, disappearing to find her father in the past. Both she and her mother shared this gift, so if she wishes to return, then she can. Then Shiroha turns to Nanami, asking if she too came from another time. Nanami answers with only a reluctant smile, but it is enough for Shiroha to know the truth. With a calm resolve, Shiroha thanks Nanami for everything, saying how much she cherished their days together, but now she must leave to be with her mother. Before Nanami can ask more, the butterflies surround her, their light swelling until it engulfs everything around them. Shiroha begins to vanish in the glow. Desperate, Nanami stretches out her hand, calling out as the brilliance pulls Shiroha farther away. When Shiroha opens her eyes, she finds herself in an entirely different place. The great tree still stands, but now it is surrounded by a vast field of white flowers swaying gently in the wind. She gazes around in awe before wandering aimlessly, realizing she has finally used her power. With that thought, she quietly wishes to see her mother. But before she can go further, Nanami suddenly appears, stopping her. Somehow, she too has entered this place. She warns Shiroha that if she continues, she risks losing more than she could ever imagine. Using her power means losing countless precious memories. Shiroha shakes her head, resisting, unable to understand. Nanami pleads, even bringing up Kobato, how heartbroken he would be if she disappeared too. But still, Shiroha stands firm. Nanami presses on, telling Shiroha there are countless memories still waiting for her. But Shiroha insists there is no future left for her. Her mother abandoned her, and that truth overshadows everything. Nanami gently tells her that Hitomi only disappeared for her sake, that her absence must hold a greater purpose. She put her life on the line for Shiroha because she cared deeply. Still, Shiroha's heart aches. What she truly wants is simply to be with her mother again, no matter the reason. Since Hitomi vanished, Shiroha has felt unbearably alone. She wakes up in silence, prepares her own meals, and walks to school without anyone there to see her off. That empty routine terrifies her, as though it will never change. She fears she will always remain by herself. But Nanami refuses to let her believe that. She promises that every summer ahead can be filled with joy and laughter, each one more meaningful. To prove her words, Nanami raises her hand, summoning a glowing butterfly that drifts between them. Shiroha reaches toward it, and in that brief light, she glimpses the future she could lose if she gives in. Shiroha sees herself grown up, standing by the pool where she first met Hairi. From there, she watches their bond slowly bloom until it becomes something unshakable. She thinks she must be dreaming, but these visions are not illusions. They are memories, or perhaps glimpses of what awaits her if she chooses to stay. The memories keep flowing, each one brighter than the last, until she can hardly believe such happiness could belong to her. Yet all of it is real, or could be real, if she does not give it up. When the memories fade, Shiroha turns to Nanami, asking who she truly is. For a brief moment, Nanami is tempted to reveal her identity, but instead she urges Shiroha to return home. Faced with the choice to press on or turn back, Shiroha is moved by everything she has just witnessed and decides to follow Nanami and head home. As they walk back toward reality, they pass beneath a crystal sky. A butterfly brushes past Nanami's ear, whispering a gentle thank you. She knows it is Hitomi, so she whispers back her thanks to her grandma. The two of them manage to return, but the night has deepened. Together, they stand by the shore, watching the floating lanterns drift across the dark blue sea. Shiroha notices something strange. The glowing butterflies begin to appear again, dozens of them scattering in the air. Curious, she soon realizes they are coming from Nanami. When she looks closer, she sees Nanami's hand slowly fading away. Shiroha panics, but Nanami remains calm, as though she has long accepted this moment. She knows deep down that she was born from countless overlapping memories, and by showing Shiroha those visions of her future, she began to unravel. Now her time is ending. Shiroha breaks down, unable to understand how Nanami can be happy while disappearing. Yet Nanami insists that she is at peace because she has already accomplished what she came for. She saw the one most dear to her, and that alone is enough. As Shirova continues to cry, she once again questions Nanami's true identity, but Nanami only smiles softly and replies that she is simply Nanami. With that, she begins to walk away into the night. Suddenly, however, a familiar voice calls out to her. Nanami freezes, turns around, and standing there is Shiroha, but in her grown-up form. Likewise, the older Shiroha recognizes her instantly. She knows it is her daughter, Umi. Umi is stunned, wondering how Shiroha could possibly recognize her despite how much she has changed. Yet before she can question it further, Shiroha pulls her into a tight embrace. Tears in her voice, she asks why Umi did all of this. Shiroha explains that she is supposed to use her power to bring happiness to herself, but she chose to use it to come back there. For Umi, though she's already happy, spending that summer with Shiroha was enough. Those memories with Hairi there too made the perfect summer she could have ever wished for. Still, Shiroha is startled by how far back Umi has reached, even changing her appearance just to be here for her. It was all done to help her, yet the consequences are undeniable. Everything will change in the future because of this. The summer she was supposed to spend with Umi will now be different, and she will grow up to become a whole new person. Worse, if she cannot reclaim her power, Umi may vanish forever, never to exist. But Umi already understands that risk, and so she presses further. Though this power feels like a curse to Shiroha, it has given her one precious gift: the chance to see Umi again. At that moment, Umi says the final words she has always longed to tell her mother, the words she never had the chance to say before disappearing. Good morning. Umi speaks her final words to her mother, grateful that she is able to see her one last time. Overcome with happiness, she suddenly collapses, her body drifting into sleep. Shiroha catches her just in time and gently lays her in her lap. For Umi, this moment is enough, and there is nothing more she could ask for. Shiroha, however, only wishes for her daughter's happiness because she is, above all, her mother. That is the very reason Umi has come this far, to help her, to protect her, and in the end, she does a wonderful job. Yet despite it all, Shiroha feels she can never thank her enough. More than anything, she longs for another chance to be Umi's mother once again. Though it feels impossible, Shiroha wishes Umi could stay. She longs for an ordinary life together, like cooking, shopping, and any other little things mothers and daughters share. Through tears, she speaks of all the moments they will never have, sobbing at the thought of a summer without Umi. It feels unreal, but Umi manages a small smile and teases that her mother is acting more like the child between them. But soon Umi too is crying, whispering her own wishes of time together, confessing that she also wants nothing more than to be with her mom. They embrace tightly. When their tears subside, Umi looks up and asks Shiroha to sing for her. Even before birth, when she was still in her mother's womb, she remembers that warmth. She wants to relive it now as she rests on her mother's lap. Shiroha hesitates, terrified that Umi may never wake again if she drifts into sleep. Yet, despite her pleas, Umi's eyelids grow heavy. She tries desperately to keep them open, but she can't hold on any longer. With that, Shiroha begins to sing with a trembling voice. Deep down, Umi has always longed to fall asleep in her mother's arms like this. Her thoughts wander back to her childhood, when her mom was gone and her father was always away at work. She used to drift to sleep alone, yet even before she was born, she recalls a feeling, a memory of being carried in her mother's embrace. Through blurry eyes, Umi remembers seeing her mother's face. She remembers the sensation, the warmth, and now that very same feeling wraps around her once again. She wasn't even born back then, yet Umi remembers Shiroha carrying her beneath a wide, bright sky, smiling as she sang. But as time slips away, Umi begins to understand what loss truly means. She feels the past unraveling, her memories fading one by one. Her very existence is dissolving, and this time she will never be born, never meet her parents, never see them again. Yet, even with that realization, Umi feels a deep sense of peace. She has done what she came to do. She met her mother. She spent a summer by her side. She created memories that will last in her heart, even as everything else vanishes. With that, Umi whispers her final farewell to Shiroha before closing her eyes for the last time. Her body begins to glow softly, and hundreds of shimmering butterflies take flight, scattering into the air. Shiroha clings desperately, but her grip loosens and Umi gently fades from her arms. This time, Shiroha grieves the loss of her daughter once more, her heart breaking as she recalls how Umi had spoken of every summer she ever lived. Now those memories are gone. She knows she should let go, that clinging to the past will only trap her, but the weight of those moments is too vivid to forget. It was the best summer of her life. Umi gave her the chance to feel what it meant to be a mother. That gift is too precious to release. Shiroha clings to the memory as she screams Umi's name into the empty night. Back when Hairi and Shiroha were reading the picture book they made together, the story told of a butterfly with beautiful wings, yet a world without color. The butterfly set out on a journey traveling across the globe, and everywhere she passed, colors bloomed. But over time, the butterfly's own wings faded, turning pale and white. At last, when her journey brought her back to her hometown, the butterfly landed gently on a flower. With that peace, she drifted into a silent slumber, while those around her wept, their sorrow falling like rain. Shirova turned the page, expecting the story to be over, but to her surprise, there was more. Hairi had added a few lines, even though Umi had suggested ending it earlier. Shirova liked this addition too. After the rain passed, a radiant rainbow arched across the sky, stretching like a bridge that connected the world. Back in the present, a new summer begins. Hairi gazes at the view from the ship as it approaches the island. Just before summer break, he had received a letter inviting him to visit that island. It was from his Aunt Kyuko, his mother's sister, whom he had never met before. With that, Hairi chose to follow that feeling. And so, at the start of this summer, his new journey unfolds. When Hairi steps into the shed, he is immediately struck by the sight of countless boxes and objects stacked inside. It's overwhelming. With so many belongings, Kyuko explains that these are their Grandma Kato's, but she only keeps them for other people. Most of the owners never reply or come back, so the items remain. Hairi wonders aloud why anyone would leave such things behind. Kyuko answers with a gentle smile, offering an example. Sometimes we tuck something into our pocket and forget about it. Much later, we might suddenly remember, only to find only its fragments left behind. This shed, she says, is like people's pockets, a place holding what once mattered deeply, but was eventually forgotten. That night, Kyuko mentions a small diner just 10 minutes from the port, so Hairi decides to stop by. But when he arrives, the place is already closed, its doors locked. With nothing else to do, he takes his motorcycle for a slow ride around the island before heading back. Yet he hasn't even gone far when the engine suddenly sputters and dies as he runs out of gas. With no other choice, he pushes the heavy motorcycle along the road. By morning, under the blazing sun, his sweat is already dripping down his face. On the roadside ahead, he spots two girls walking together. It's O and Shiroha. There's a strange feeling in the air, though none of them seem to recognize one another. When Hairi is a few meters away from them already, Shiroha suddenly whispers to Ao, asking about him. Ao shakes her head, assuming he must be a tourist. Still, Shiroha's gaze lingers on him. Her expression seems as if trying to recall something just out of reach. But they are in a hurry to see Ai, so the girls continue walking. Only then does Hairi turn his head, but they are already gone out of his sight. The next day, Hairi decides to help his aunt sort through the shed. It's what he came for, after all, and boredom has already started to creep in. Kyuko hesitates at first, but eventually agrees, handing him the task of labeling the countless items stacked inside. When Hairi asks how he should go about it, she simply tells him to follow his gut. So he gives it a try. Strangely enough, even though he doesn't know who left each item behind or what their stories might be, he begins to sense something from them. Almost unconsciously, he imagines the intentions of their former owners, piecing together vague stories as he works. Every label feels like a fragment of a journey, and before long, he starts to call it a map through time, or rather, a time map connecting forgotten lives. The thought lingers with him long after he finishes for the day. That night, Hairi visits the diner. Shiroha happens to be the one running it, but he is the only customer inside. When he calls out to her, he asks for a recommendation. She thinks for a moment, then suggests fried rice. Hairi points out it isn't on the menu, and she tries to find an excuse, saying it's not the restaurant's recommendation, it's hers. After preparing the fried rice, Shiroha serves it to Hairi. He takes a bite and immediately compliments the taste, asking if she added any special ingredient. But Shiroha refuses to reveal her secret. Hairi thanks her warmly for the meal before heading out and riding his motorcycle back home. Yet his thoughts linger on Shiroha. He can't help but think she's a strange one. After some time, the shed is finally in better shape. Even Hairi wonders how he managed to pull it off. But when he turns to Kyuko, she's no longer there. Instead, his eyes are drawn to the warm light spilling through the window. Before he realizes it, the light engulfs him, carrying him to a place under a wide, clear sky. Standing before him is Umi. Hairi instantly recognizes her, his tears stream down as he calls her name. Umi turns to him with a gentle smile, a perfect embodiment of a memory tucked away in his pocket, something he will always hold on to, even if it fades. His senses return when Kyuko calls out, snapping him back. He brushes it off, pretending he's fine. Then on the floor, he notices a colorful paper airplane, and with it, a faint, lingering memory resurfaces. Days pass and Kyuko sees Hairi off. She thanks him sincerely, but he insists he's simply glad to have finally helped. The way he says it, though, is almost as if he had always wanted to help Kyuko for a long time without realizing why. They laugh it off together, leaving the thought hanging. Before he leaves, Hairi promises he'll return again someday, and Kyuko wishes him good luck. As he walks away, she gazes up at the sky, softly speaking to Hitomi, wondering if she too is happy seeing everything. On the road, Hairi is suddenly stopped by a group of islanders his age. Among them is Ao, who remembers seeing him when he first arrived. They recognize him as Grandma Kata's grandson, so they explain they're heading to the mountain and ask if he'd like to join. But Hairi politely declines as he has no time left. He is already heading home as summer break is already drawing to a close. He waves goodbye before continuing on his way, only hoping they might meet again someday. While on his way, Hairi passes some of the friends he had made in past summers, though their faces now feel like fragments of a dream. Kamome stands by with her baggage, chatting animatedly. Nearby, Tsumoyi and Shizuku are deep in conversation, their friendship blossoming, yet Hairi only walks past, not stopping or acknowledging them. He boards the ship and watches the island slowly shrink in the distance. Just then, he notices Shiroha on the shore, holding the colorful paper airplane. She releases it and it soars into the sky. Somehow Hairi feels like he knows exactly where it's heading. A strange sensation rises in his chest, like nostalgia for something he has yet to experience. He runs to the attendant, saying he needs to get off, but the man blocks him, warning it's too dangerous. Seeing Shiroha about to leave, Hairi can no longer hold himself back. Without hesitation, he jumps from the ship into the blue water below, determined to reach her no matter what. Shiroha is stunned as he emerges, dripping wet. For a moment, he struggles to find his words. Then, finally, he speaks. He tells her how good her fried rice was and asks if she can teach him how to make it. Shiroha blinks in surprise before softly laughing and agreeing. Thanks for watching. That's the complete season. Don't forget to subscribe if you enjoyed it.